Hey, welcome back to the Convo Couch, everyone. Pasta Jardula here.
And I'm Purola.
And you see there in the middle, Sky, Coin. She's a daddy, one daddy, whatever you want to call her. Sky Daddy, Coin Daddy. What's the other
Alchemist
third daddy?
It was Shitpost Daddy.
Shitpost Daddy. And my daddy, Oz, is on the ones and twos. How you doing back there, Oz?
He's not your daddy. Okay, get it right.
All right. Okay. I wanted to steal them all for myself and stuff. Thank you, everybody, for joining today. If you're not on the Rockfin, please go over to the Rockfin, ROKFIN, the Convo Couch. And of course, our YouTubes is banging right now. Guys, we need you to like, share, subscribe, do all those kind of things that we need you to do to help us out to fight back the suppression from YouTube and Twitter. And as of yesterday, right, fam? Discord now?
Oh yeah, we didn't even put it in there. It's Discord. Our Discord server was taken down, and it affected multiple people who decimate independent media channels like Indie Left and Rave Barker. They always share people's independent media content, and their little channels were also taken down. So yeah, for misinformation. It's kind of crazy how, during COVID that didn't happen there, but this is like now it's at another level with what's happening with Russia. Like you can't mention anything remotely related to RT in a lot of these mediums, which is, it's weird. It's worse than YouTube, but not for long. We'll see what happens with that too.
Well, Sky, you're here with us today. Have you ever witnessed any type of getting demonetized or taken down or suppression that you'd like to talk about while you're here?
Maybe a little bit. But yeah, I'm used to it at this point. Just gotta keep a few accounts.
Well, it's kind of funny. We promote the Rockfin, and we had no choice. About 14 months ago, we were several of us: Nico House, Graham Elwood, Frank Analysis. If I'm missing anybody, fam, that I forgot who else got taken down as far as the monetization from YouTube, and that was almost 14 months ago. We've been dealing with this. We had to really matriculate on over to the Rockfin and get people to come over there. And it's interesting because that platform is a cryptocurrency-based platform where you acquire crypto for your content that you put out. So it's really, we were sanctioned, in other words, and we had to kind of go in this avenue that we didn't choose, but we had no choice but to go there. And we thought we would bring in an expert or somebody who's really good on crypto, and that is Sky Daddy, or Coin Daddy, if you want to call her that when she's talking about crypto. No?
Yeah. I always thought that cryptocurrencies were a part of the digital asset push. So I'm not surprised that, that's where a lot of people are going to be transforming to platforms that they're getting paid in crypto. Also, athletes are doing it now. You have politicians that are getting paid in Bitcoin. Like, it's actually very common.
Yeah. Russell Okung from, I believe it was the Seattle Seahawks, he had his whole salary paid in Bitcoin, and they had to bring in the Fire Network, Jack Mallers, if you haven't heard that name, which the Fire Network is like another network on top, another blockchain on top of another blockchain, so you can do transactions quick. Sky, can you give us a little example before we get started on this section to kind of lay it out there, the difference between decentralized and centralized cryptocurrencies?
Well, if you ask me, the difference is the illusion, but so it says you have certain things like ISO 2022 coins like Ripple, which is actually going through a lawsuit right now. And you have XLM, and these things are very controlled networks, and decentralized are supposed to be kind of no one has control, and there's multiple different nodes, and they're all not ran by the same people. But Ethereum was supposed to be decentralized, and now we understand that JP Morgan owns like a majority of it. So you never really know.
All right. You can't say those things because fam's going to want to get rid of all our Ethereum knowing that JP Morgan has got their hands in it right after the show. She's like, that's it. We're done.
Yeah. It's tough.
Yeah, it's different. Well, for me, I have my hands in all the NWO coins, so I definitely am not one to judge. But yeah, Ethereum is definitely pretty controlled.
Yeah, and XRP is one of the choices of the Fourth Industrial Revolution and the Great Reset from Klaus Schwab, from what we understand. That's why I'm staying way far away from XRP.
Oh man, that's my biggest holding.
I know. See, because it's like I talk about this, like I say in the metaverse, I want to be a meta pimp. I want to buy low, sell high, and then just get the hell out Just make some money and get out. And that's what I'm encouraging people to do.
Exactly.
You know, just get in and get out, and then go where you can go off the grid and find some place to live where coconuts, avocados, and mangoes will just fall on your head. That's my deal. That's what I want to do.
Exactly. I'm just trying to get enough, because eventually, you know, they're going to be all the, I mean, especially if you're a resistor, how long are you going to be able to spend money if you're not going to comply to certain things? So, I mean, you know, your time is numbered. So I take profits in silver or reinvest. But when I take profits in silver, because at the end of the day, that's an easier, less controllable commodity. I don't think that's very common for a lot of people in the crypto space, because they're coming at it in a way of the market wants to make them rich and that everything's fair. So they're kind of going about life like that. But I definitely am with get some money, get off grid, get as much supplies as you can, because at the end of the day, eventually it's obviously going to be used to control you.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And we often talk about fiat money, how that can fall, right? How the market's over-speculated, overbought, oversold. It's like a house of cards that can come crumbling down at any second. So I think it's always good to kind of diversify your bonds, you know, get some land, get some silver, get some crypto, get some fiat, have it spread out. And just in case one avenue falls, you're ready to swim in other areas. That's at least, is that good advice to give people?
Oh, yeah, I definitely think diversification negates risk. Like I tell people that all the time. The fact that people will have all their money in like one asset and commodities these days, especially fiat. I have the least, and so is my mother because I handle her finances. The least amount of our commodities are in fiat, because that right there is a ticking time bomb. I think most of her money is in gold and a lot of mine's in silver. So it's just a ticking time. There's something called glint. And it's something by MasterCard, and it's not as good as physical gold. But what it does is it holds your money into gold stocks. So, and you can technically get a physical delivery of your gold. So it's not just stocks, it holds your money in gold. That way, let's say you have $10,000 on your glint card. What happens when fiat falls? Gold is, if you've seen that chart, it's going hyperbolic, it's about to go crazy. So it's going to just be rising. And it's kind of a way to keep your assets safe in inflation. So I tell everyone, do not, especially if the bank runs, especially people who have any a bit large amount of money, like if having more than $100,000 in a bank, when bank runs come in, like bank runs come and then they do bail-ins, they can keep a certain amount of your money in your assets. A lot of people don't know that. So I would never keep large amounts of fiats at this point, or even small amounts. I'm very bare minimum with fiat.
Oh man, wow! Like it's scary times, it's crazy times, especially with what's going on with over in Ukraine and with Russia getting involved. A lot of people think that Bitcoin's been on the rise for the last couple of days, and a lot of people think it's going to even go up even further because that Russia's going to have no choice but to dip into possibly going with Bitcoin, especially to move around the sanctions and whatnot. But it's all up for grabs. Who knows what's going to happen? However, I think we can say that a lot of the bills that are going to be kind of going through Congress and now this executive order that's coming through on crypto. And I want to start with some of the bills in Congress because I think it's more about control, right? Like if you watch a lot of these hearings, you'll see there's like a small group of people within Congress, Republicans. They're more kind of like libertarian minded, younger, that are kind of all behind crypto, all behind Bitcoin and want to embrace it. I think a lot of people too on the right, some people like Ted Cruz are just embracing it because they see potential votes in the future and stuff. But the majority of the establishment candidates, the old school Republicans, the old school Democrats, the establishment ones, they really hate crypto and they want to abolish it completely or try to control it, especially the on-ramps and the off-ramps. So let's get started with this whole article that came out. It's from CoinDesk, and it talks about U.S. Senator Warren drafting a bill to ensure crypto can't be used to evade sanctions. One of the provisions would make it easier to verify customer identities, and transfers to private wallets by enforcing detailed record keeping and reporting, according to NBC News. Now, I have a question for both you ladies right off the jump, and I pulled this off. I mean, first of all, the fact that it's Elizabeth Warren, who supposedly got involved with politics because she said she never wanted to see the younger generation and the working class people ever get taken advantage of by Wall Street ever again. Crypto is a device or a tool of sorts to kind of opt out of what Wall Street was doing sometimes, or at least not be completely involved with Wall Street. From what you guys are seeing right here, right now, what you ladies are seeing here right now, excuse me, does this not look like a wolf in sheep's clothing coming in to make sure that they can control your assets and know what you're spending at all times?
This looks like a regular wolf to me, but I'm sure that some people actually see Elizabeth Warren as a savior. But yeah, I don't think anyone in crypto believes that these people have the community's best interest in heart. It's, again, I think, in my opinion, they were always going to control this. That's why I've never kind of bought into it. I do think maybe perhaps there could be a decentralized coin on like XMR, but that would be to a degree. I think Bitcoin is very transparent with transactions. So I don't really see how that's going to be a competent and advantageous way to go around things. But it is most popular, so it has the most value. But yeah, I mean, obviously, we see what these people do to stocks. We know that they don't care about anything. They just want to control, and they try to get rid of anything that can.
And I know for a fact that people in sanctioned countries have used cryptocurrencies to get around the sanctions in countries like Venezuela and certain places in the global south. They could be potential with cryptocurrencies. We're seeing what's happening with El Salvador. But the reality is when the United States does this, it really just cuts any sort of avenue for people to go around it. And I think that's also why they're doing it. It's not just like they want control of crypto, like they don't want, poor people getting around it, even though, we have like Nancy Pelosi and her buying of stocks and all of that. It's also control in the foreign policy aspect of the situation where they don't want sanctioned countries being able to get around this. And I'm not surprised Elizabeth Warren is pursuant of this because her whole little crew of progressives mock everything related to crypto without understanding it at all whatsoever. Yeah. And I'm like not a big crypto person either, but like it's not for the same reasons. It's for the fact that I just don't trust that crypto will be an exception to what they can control. But I think poor people and sanctioned people have been using it. And that's why I'm okay with it, because at least for the short term, it can help out a lot of people.
Agreed. I think it's very beneficial. Like with things like Russia, so once they come down, now they can't like go to exchanges and stuff. But when it comes to like transferring money and giving mutual aid to across the seas, I think it's invaluable, to be honest, in that aspect. Like it really is.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I know you ladies are a fan of Elizabeth Warren, so let's take a look at what she's proposing over here. Because, of course, believe it or not, she's going to use Putin, oh my God, as a reason to try and go in and get a grasp on everything, to sanction the common person. I mean, it almost seems like, what's being played out in front of us is just theatrics. But here it is. And like you said, fam, she's going to use like all her followers as a bunch of MMT people who really hate crypto too as well. So let's take a look. Senator Elizabeth Warren is preparing a bill to make it more difficult to use cryptocurrency to circumvent sanctions. In a tweet Tuesday, Warren says her new bill will ensure crypto isn't used by Putin and his cronies to undermine our economic sanctions, referring to the Russian President Vladimir Putin. According to NBC News, which was the first to report on Warren's proposed bill, its provisions would make it easier to verify customer identities and transfers to private wallets by requiring financial institutions to log detailed records and submit reports to the Treasury Department. But before I go on any further right there, Sky, what is your opinion about that right now? When they say that it's going to make it easier to verify customer identities, because I think one of the things when you talk about Bitcoin, when you talk a lot about crypto, it's the KYC, know your customer. But if you have a vessel which can get around the know your customer, all you can see on the ledger on the blockchain is an actual wallet address. What is the attempt here with this part of the bill in which Elizabeth Warren is attempting to do? Exchanges.
No. They're going to regulate the exchanges, because crypto, for you to get money or anything out of it, they have to go through the exchanges. And let's say corporations start taking it, they'll still have to go through the corporations. So they're going to go ahead, if you control the people with the resources, then you control crypto, essentially. I'm sure there'll be a workaround eventually, but.
Yeah. Fam, you got anything to say about that?
No, go ahead.
We talk about the on-ramps and the off-ramps all the time as an easy way to kind of look at exchanges. You know, it's getting how you get your money into crypto, how you get your money out. That's where they can really regulate it, especially when it comes to Bitcoin. The chances of the bill is passing are limited. However, since the Republicans control the Senate, Warren and 3 other Democrat senators sent a letter last week to the Treasury Secretary, Sky's favorite person, Janet Yellen, asking about how the Treasury Department plans to enforce these economic sanctions within the cryptocurrency industry. Strong enforcement of sanctions compliance in the cryptocurrency industry is critical, given that digital assets, which allow entities to bypass the traditional financial system, may increasingly be used as a tool for sanctions evasions, the senator wrote. So this part right here to me is so scary right now, because they're pretty much just saying that they're kind of framing it to people who are not involved in crypto and to the general public that crypto is mainly used as a tool by criminals. Do you have any thoughts on that, ladies? Fee, you want to go first on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, first of all, the fact that we're sanctioning countries and just think nothing of it when sanctions are an active siege war is wrong. And then on top of sanctioning these countries, now we want to stop them from going around the current financial system that is exploited by a certain class of, you know, the oligarchy, the 1%, these billionaires that are planning this whole privatization, this whole fourth industrial revolution, this whole great reset. So it's kind of like they're leaving no avenues for people or any opposition, any country that might be in opposition or any sort of entities that might be in opposition to that system.
Sky?
Yeah, I think it's just funny that they're talking about they need to control this because only criminals use it. But I mean, what do criminals use? Don't use fiat? I mean, the logic is not logicking. Like, if anything, crypto is more traceable than free fiat. So I don't really, obviously, it's just a play.
Yeah. Can you elaborate on that? Because a lot of people don't understand that when you because I've watched a lot of these hearings, and one of the hearings when somebody showed up, they said instead of trying to sanction it and stop it, whatnot, we need to embrace it. Pay attention to the blockchain ledgers and look at that because it's actually you can trace it easier by looking at cryptocurrencies blockchains than you can if like you're actually smuggling around hard cash. No,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's the just craziness to it. All right, so listen, now a lot of tweets came out about this. It's not expected to pass, but I don't think it has to pass sometimes to get it on record, to kind of get the narrative out there that you want to get. That's the tool that a lot of our phony politicians use. They know it's not going to pass. They make it look like it's back and forth, but at the end of the day, they can get their narrative out there. So with that not being able to pass, though, Biden is going to just bypass the whole bill situation and sign an executive order on regulating and issuing cryptocurrency. And this is from The Hill. President Biden is reportedly set to sign an executive order on cryptocurrency this week, which is supposed to be today, that will direct several federal agencies to investigate and develop policies and regulations on digital currencies. The order is likely to be signed Wednesday, according to Reuters, and would be the White House's first step towards regulating cryptocurrency. It will reportedly outline what federal agencies, including the Treasury, state, and Commerce departments, need to do to develop regulations and policies on the cryptocurrency market, according to the Associated Press. And then I have a little tweet that actually has the statement from Janet Yellen. You can see this is from the U.S. Department of Treasury, and it's a statement by Secretary of Treasury Janet L. Yellen on President Biden's executive order on digital assets. Okay, and if we can go to the actual order itself, Oz, that's the right there is the actual there. The next one. Thank you so much. All right, so let's take a look at this. U.S. Secretary of Treasury Janet Yellen released the following statement on President Biden's executive order on digital assets. President Biden's historic executive order, I like the way they call it historic because it's the first time. Here they go. Executive order calls for a coordinated and comprehensive approach to digital asset policy. This approach will support responsible innovation that could result in substantial benefits for the nation, consumer, and businesses. Don't you like the way they always frame it? It's like, we're doing this for the benefit of everything else, for businesses and whatnot. And, you know what I'm saying? When they're going to assign bureaucrats to make decisions, just like the HHS, and bypass a lot of the things that our Congress is supposed to be in place for. It will also address risk related to illicit finance, protecting consumers and investors, and preventing threats to the financial system and broader economy, which is really, they just let you know what it's about. It's about protecting their fiat dollar. It's about protecting the monetary system of the West. It's not about like making sure that it's not used by criminals. It's making sure that the American dollar is the one that is your daddy and not cryptocurrency. Do you ladies have anything to say on this right now?
Oh, you did a good job.
Okay. Under the executive order, Treasury will partner with interagency colleagues to produce a report on the future of money and payment systems. We'll also convene the Financial Stability Oversight Council. What the hell is that? To evaluate the potential financial stability risk of digital assets and assess whether appropriate safeguards are in place. That's another thing you're going to say. When they say we're going to address this to make sure the proper safeguards are in place, that's going to mean they're going to do what they can do to XRP right now, right? You supposedly, I don't think you can buy it on Coinbase. Can you? Or is it still like banned?
It's banned on most exchanges. There's a few exchanges, and those are also the exchanges I think will have regulations and they won't be able to sell it no more. Because on KuCoin, you don't have to give as much information. And on some of the, I think the other one that Uphold has it as well. And you don't have to give as much information on there as well. So I think that's going to be the main places that get hit with these regulations. So they are not going to be able to do things like they're doing with XRP and sell it when when they said, hey, no, you're not going to be able to sell this until we go through SEC and all that situation. So yeah. I think though these are the last days for them being able to do that. Maybe they'll make the adaptation. I'm thinking they will, but.
You know what I think, and let me know what you think about this theory when it comes to XRP. We know us in this group over here, and if you don't know, Sky Daddy's like, she's into numbers. She's into coincidence of numbers. We often talk about stuff in the fourth industrial revolution. We talk about control all the time. We know that XRP is supposed to be Klaus Schwab's favorite coin. It's supposed to be the coin, right, of the fourth industrial revolution moving forward, the Great Reset and whatnot. They're not allowing people to buy XRP right now. Every day, people like me, you, and Fee can't go on our Coinbase. We can't buy XRP. There's limited places you can get it. I think they want to control who owns the majority of that XRP, meaning that the friends of the state, the friends of the globalists will control the majority of that XRP. So when they try to make the switch where XRP is the coin of choice, it's going to be owned by the elites and the predator class again. Does that make sense, or is there something that I'm missing when it comes to XRP?
That's what it seemed like to me. I keep going through the scenario to see if it's going to be like a rug pull or something, because to me, it just seems so obviously direct that that's going to happen. I honestly think also, because, they were talking about when their problem, I forgot who it was. Was it Jerome Powell? Someone was talking about how they don't want assets that are backed by nothing. And then we all know that Russia, I think, is having a gold back CBDCs. So there's going to be, obviously, other countries are going to follow suit and have one as well, if not using multiple same coin, XRP and some XLM. And I definitely think there's going to be a 1933 thing happening. I think that there definitely could be a buyback of retail investors that do have XRP, and not maybe immediately, but just like gold, before it skyrockets and go hyperbolic. I think there could be some type of event where, for some reason, they're going to seize the gold back XRP. And yeah.
By the way, fam, I'm wondering when United States went over to talk to Maduro the other day, that he would meet him at the door and said, you can't come in until you give us our gold back from the West.
I mean, they should. I don't think Maduro's going to make any deals, or Iran. I don't think they're going to make any deals with the U.S. unless the U.S. does get some sort of retribution to their country, the sanctions, the gold. I mean, Venezuela could stand to make a profit, but at the same time, You know, it's like they've done a lot of damage. They're basically recognizing Maduro as a legitimate president after trying to use Guaido. And also, I just wanted to comment on this whole situation. It's interesting how these progressives and these people on the left are angry that Biden will sign an executive order for banning crypto or for controlling cryptocurrencies to the degree, and not sign an executive order for all the things that they were going to push him left for, like student debt forgiveness and like, you know, healthcare and all the other things he could potentially sign an executive order for. It's interesting because it just kind of re-emphasizes the point that these people are just so clueless about everything.
Well, be prepared to get really pissed off towards the end of the show when we go over the executive orders the last 3 presidents have signed and that are continuing to go on to this day. But I just want to read the last paragraph of that form. It says, as we take on this important work, we will be guided by consumer and investor protection groups, market participants, and other leading experts. Treasury will work to promote a fairer, more inclusive, and more efficient financial system while building an ongoing work to counter illicit finance and prevent risk to financial stability and national security. It really makes me think when they're talking about making sure this is fairer and it's a level playing field. Do you remember the Wall Street bets situation? I mean, they literally cheated for oligarchs. They shut off the buying power of GameStop so it wouldn't drive the price up, and yet they let people sell it and it drove the price down, and they crippled people. And when they brought them to Congress, they pretty much did nothing to them. There was no fines. Nobody got in trouble. They got a little kind of finger wag a little bit by Maxine Waters, but that's it. I mean, this shit blows my mind because they have manipulated this system over and over again. In 2008, we know what happened, and that was another big part of where we took a lot of money away from the middle class, almost destroyed it, and now they're going to try to do that again.
Yep.
Sky, I want you to check out this video. This guy made some points over here. We found this little kind of TikTok right now, and he makes 3 points about what he thinks is going to happen with this new executive order. I'm curious about this because he does also mention XRP. Let's take a look at this quick video.
President Joe Biden's executive order on cryptocurrencies has been leaked 1 day early. Here are 3 things that this executive order will address. The first thing is stablecoins. So I've said this many times before, stablecoins like US dollar tether is a really big threat to the United States monetary system. And they're not going to let unregulated stablecoins like US dollar tether to operate in the US. The second thing is cross-border payments. So under the executive order, the Treasury will partner with their international partner to make cross-border payments a level playing field. And by that, they basically mean to make cross-border payments faster and cheaper for everyone. I wonder what American company has been working to make cross-border payments faster and cheaper. Hint, hint. And the third thing is illicit finance. So the government will want to know where you get your crypto from. So expect more KYC and kiss unregulated DeFi goodbye. And that is it. Let me know what you think in the comments.
So number one, these stable coins, because I'm having a hard time understanding what stable coins are. Johnny tells me all the time that we should possibly move some of the crypto to a stable coin. What is the beef, Sky, that the United States government and monetary system has with stable coins?
Well, stable coins are supposed to be pegged to the US dollar. So for them to have value, there has to be there's also pegged to other fiats and currencies, but they're supposed to be pegged to a certain fiat. And, I guess if you don't know those companies actually have that fiat stash, it makes it really easy to manipulate the market, which is true. It's not like the only way to manipulate the market. They can manipulate the market by just having a whole bunch of crypto on exchanges and buying and selling and whales and people who have money. But it is a legitimate way to control the market by creating these stable coins. So I think they would want to regulate them. I've always been kind of I do see the need in stable coins and I use them sometimes, but I definitely know that one day the executive order is going to get signed, something's going to get investigated, and some of these things are going to go to zero. So I try to avoid it.
The second point was XRP Ripple. I know that we've heard Klaus Schwab and some of the Fourth Industrial Revolution talk about XRP and stuff like that. Do you know of any other American business interests that are kind of holding on to XRP and how they can benefit off of it?
I know a lot of overseas. I know Japan has some XRP. XRP Ripple has it in an escrow. So I think some people are saying, that's centralized, but again, obviously it already is. But the escrow will be released to the government if, they choose that as well. So, but yeah, I think XRP is already used overseas, and there are already banks who have Ripple and XRP and use them for cross-border payments. They're just smaller banks. The bigger institutions aren't in there yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet until these regulations.
Yeah. Well, the third one, finishing up, he talked about like the KYC, know your customer and stuff like that. And once again, it's a way to kind of like go against the main purpose why crypto was invented, right? Like to get around all the sanctions, get around the IMF, the central banks, the monetary system, where they can just, we saw what happened in Canada too, as well. I think they were testing it out and stuff like that. With this particular new, the KYC, the know your customer, is there going to be any way a lot of crypto users can find a way around that so they can find a way to evade what's coming with, the possibility that they can be seized, slowed down, the off ramps, the on ramps? How does a cryptocurrency user get around that?
I mean, they can do person to person, wallet to wallet.
Yeah, I always say that.
Yeah, unless because a lot of the wallets aren't US based. So it depends on what's in the US and what's not, and what's the regulation of other places. So they're not going to be able to, now if they end up being a global thing and global regulations eventually and things of that nature, and everyone kind of jumps in, then that'd be a problem. But for right now, you can do wallet to wallet. So let's say your crypto, if they're just blocking you off exchanges, you can technically do a wallet to wallet and have someone else exchange it. But I am curious to see, because I do think something will pop up. There's always resistance in these things. I'm curious to see how people who are trying to stay decentralized with crypto create value if the exchanges aren't cashing them out and if they're not able to do that as well. But I think person to person would be the way.
Yeah, I think that's the best way for the crypto community can help make cryptocurrencies grow, is just go wallet to wallet. Use your crypto as actual cash. Don't turn it into fiat and then use it. If you can go wallet to wallet, that is the best way. I think we evade everything. Fam, do you have anything to say?
This is really it's really puts people between a rock and a hard place, because people who have been using crypto like we have, we're doing it because we're kind of forced into it because of the demonetization. And so by doing this, you're just finding another mechanism of controlling it. I just have a hard time thinking why aren't more Bitcoiners and people in the crypto community pushing back against what Joe Biden is doing? Why aren't they kind of seeing the big picture here, along with everybody else that has been criticizing the administration? Because this is more about Bitcoin or about cryptocurrencies. This is about the dissension into authoritarianism that we're seeing this country go down very, very quickly. And once that happens, and we're going to be talking about the gas prices and all that, but once that happens, people aren't really going to have the means to support themselves and their families, and they're going to be completely dependent on the government, and not in a good way, not in a good, you're not even remotely talking about the fantasy of having a good government ruled by the people. You're talking about the reality of having an authoritarian oligarchy ruled by a bunch of psychopaths where they can manipulate you. I don't understand why there's not more of a resistance into the bigger picture from the crypto community. Maybe there is, I just haven't seen it.
I think there is a lot of people upset, but there are also a lot of people, for XRP people, mass adoption means they get money, so they're not worried about it. For the Bitcoiners, I think it's a split between them thinking the same thing, that mass adoption is going to help them. Because they're Bitcoiners, a lot of them
Right.
want to resist in other ways, even though a lot of them see themselves as that way. Not really. Like these people are over in the crypto space, y'all, they are just worshiping like these coins, like golden calf. I'm for real, golden calf level cultish worshiping corporations and shit. Like it's not just, oh, I'm going to make money. It's, oh, you sold? How dare you sold? Like, bitch, I was taking profits. I don't give a fuck about your corporation little cults. But these people are fucking completely different with it. So yeah. I think a lot of people don't think there's anything they can do. But I also thought the same thing. I'm like, if you really cared about like cryptos as decentralization, why the fuck wouldn't you be railing really hard against this? Like, you think you'd be protesting if you actually think this is your way out, if you actually think this is the way around, you think they fucking give a fuck. But
yeah. The progressives have never grasped that it's like, I say it all the time. If I can go around the central banks and the IMF, and I just go straight to the ledger, like Bitcoin and stuff, then I'm going to do it. I'm going to be happy about it, because you see how they can just change rules. They can do mass printing of dollars and stuff. And I know a lot of MMTers don't believe in inflation, but it's a global financial system. We've been in the global South, and people are still, they'll take the dollar everywhere. So, I mean, it's really kind of hard to evade the fact that inflation does exist. But, I mean, it just is one of those things. You did talk about mass adoption. Doesn't mass adoption mean to the rest of the people who are in the market, the older generation, this is kind of giving crypto credence? This is kind of solidifying its place in the world? In other words, the recognition by mass adoption should automatically shoot up the price, especially of those like of Bitcoin and Ethereum and Cardano?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I'm not big on Bitcoin or Ethereum, but the market cap, it will increase. So it will shoot down up a lot of them. I think a lot of the altcoins as well. I think the biggest shoot up will be ISO 20022 coins, because that is going to be mass adopted by financial institutions. So we're thinking a lot of market cap. I'm talking about different countries and globally, global digital assets agenda. So it's going to be have a huge market cap, but I think other things as well that are going to grow. Ethereum is used on a lot of different networks by a lot of different corporations. So I think that will be kind of more of a thing that is used for bigger corporations and end up being that way, because the gas fees on Ethereum is insane. And I never think, looking at it now, like that can't be for retail investors, because the gas fees are crazy.
Well, Ethereum too, like just hit supposedly the other day. So that's supposed to fix that problem. But still, like we talked about earlier in this segment, it's not decentralized, it's centralized, and it's all the big boys and big girls are in that one, and forget about it. I want to put up this last tweet real quick, but other than the fact that Joe Biden is not a commie, you talk to people, you listen to people like Catherine Austin Fitts. Don't build your own prison for yourself. Prediction: Biden to sign executive order regulating crypto. Next, the Fed crypto. Then next, all the cryptocurrencies seized and folded into government crypto. Let's go, Brandon, you criminal, you commie. I don't agree with the you commie thing, because he's far from a commie. But I mean, there is always talks about this. The fact is that they want to get into, like, in other words, China, they have the digital yuan. They want you to invest in that. That's why they kind of try to stop the on-ramps and the off-ramps for Bitcoin for a while. Isn't there a possibility that this is what the plan is all along, to kind of have you on the federal kind of controlled cryptos, maybe get your social credit score kind of attached to it, and that will determine whether or not you can get your what is it called, UBI or whatever it is at the time when they have us all indoors because we're afraid to go outside because of whatever the next flying virus is out there?
Oh, for sure. I think in Ukraine they're giving people wartime digital payments at this point, but you can only get it if you're vaxxed. So it's a fucking war, and they're only giving UBI to the people who are vaxxed. This is what I always said. Like, no, I'm not for UBI or any Medicare or anything, not because I don't think that we deserve it, not because I don't want people to get help, not because I don't think that our government has enough money with our fucking tax dollars that they rob us of to give us at least that. I definitely think the working class is beyond deserving of it, but these people never give us shit without trying to screw us over. So yeah, I definitely think that for sure.
Yep.
This is I don't know, Pasta, have you talked to other people, the Bitcoiners, the famous Bitcoiners, because this guy's saying Bitcoin's done, essentially, like that it's going to be kaput. And the argument that you and Jonny and other people have always come to me regarding Bitcoin has been, well, no, because it's so decentralized, so it can't possibly be, taken over by the government. But what this guy's saying is, yes, that is what's going to happen.
Well, the thing is that they can't go in and take care of Bitcoin and crash it themselves. But I mean, a global agenda where people are working, nation states are working together to make sure that the on ramps and the off ramps are not used. In other words, making it almost impossible to get into it or get your money out is what can really hurt things. And then they want to push you towards their digital asset, right? That's what the whole game's about. So, I mean, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I found it kind of a little ironic the way a couple years ago, Narendra Modi made it illegal for Bitcoin because he wanted people to get into their currency. I believe in Russia, Bitcoin at one point was hard to get to as well. So, I mean, there's ways they can make it very difficult, right? But if it's a world where everybody's fighting at each other's throats, and that's really what's going on, it's not just kabuki theater behind the scenes. Other countries will get in while other countries will stay out, keeping it afloat. But I mean, yeah, he's assuming that every single American banking industry is going to play ball and not allow certain coins to be used or bought and sold. Therefore, if you can't get in, you can't get out. It almost makes it, impossible to make any money with crypto, I guess. I mean, that's what they're trying to say.
So I guess my question to you guys is, what's the solution? What is the solution to people that are being told the fiat currency is going to absolutely crash soon? We're seeing massive inflation, massive prices in oil and gas. Wheat is going to be very expensive very soon. Rent is housing prices are still going up in many places, and they've just completely suspended the rental assistance in California. So what is the solution then if you can't rely on Bitcoin or on the cryptos of any kind for much longer? What are people going to do before it gets any worse?
I think some people are going to have money that are resistors, and it's all going to come down to community and skills. Like, I am a huge believer in cash is the poor man's money. Like, at the end of the day, there's nothing more valuable than you. Like, can you hunt? Can you cook? Can you grow your own food? Can you, do maintenance on things? Like, can you build? Like, these are going to be the skills that are needed to run a community, and things don't stop. But the only thing that money does, gold or any of these things ever do, is to pay for goods and services. That's it. Other than that, it's an illusion. If you had all the gold in the world, but no one would take it and give you food or service and help you, you'd be fucking poor. You just have a whole bunch of gold. You die with your fucking gold. So everything else is an illusion. People get so caught up on that. So community, helping each other out and working together and just having skills, like create some damn skills. Like people, that's what I can tell. Create some survivalist skills.
See, Joe Biden's not the commie. Sky Daddy's the commie, wants to go live off the grid mutual aid over there. It's all about your skill set. I'll cook. You guys do some other stuff. We'll have some engineers. Well, she's absolutely right. It's all about that because, what really is money? Money's just an illusion for control. So it's all about what you could bring to the table mutual aid wise when the going gets rough. And I think it's going to get really rough.
I definitely agree with that. A lot of people are kind of in their hopium thinking that it's not going to be as bad as I'm saying. And I'm like, guys, you really want to try to get this going. But, pain is the best teacher. Let's go.
I don't like that idea. Sky, before we can get you out here and before you tell everybody where they can find you, give us your little quick 3-minute pitch on what you think is really going on in Ukraine, Russia.
Oh, man, I don't even need 3 minutes. I don't trust anything that's going on in that situation. After COVID, I figured out everything. Well, I'm already figured that out. But I saw how dire it was, that everything they tell you is a fucking lie. And they've been doing that, like 9/11, like it's just been the Iraqi war, every war has been highly propagandized. So I have no idea what's going on. I know that don't we have a bunch of biological labs right at Russia's door, like, and also other weapons and facilities? Like, how the hell can you get mad at Putin for being like, hey, maybe don't have biological weapons right at our border, you know? So, I mean, again, I'm not a fan of anyone, but at the end of the day, America's going to America. The fact that anyone thinks America is anytime the good guy. One thing do I think they're any good guys? No, but I'm for sure it's not the fucking America. Also, what the fuck would that have to do with us anyway? We have so much problems domestically and financially. This is suicide. This is obviously world economic financial suicide. I don't know what person can look at this and think, oh, that they don't understand the financial. They don't care. Look at Biden, that video of Biden saying it's going to go up. Russia's responsible. There's nothing we can do. Russia's responsible.
Yeah,
like,
they don't care to sacrifice us so they can play out their narrative. And that's exactly what they're doing. Exactly.
And they don't care. So at the end of the day, it's going to be working class people, like Fee said, you know, just the sanctions on Russia are insane and beyond like savage. It's savagery. And the people that are pushing this on are just disgusting. Like all the working class people have nothing to do with this, are just in financial ruin and they're starving. And people are just like, yes, more sanctions for Ukraine. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I'm biased against America. Everyone should know that.
Well, one correction there. It's America gone America. That's what it is. Take the A off, because that's the mentality. You know, I still talk to people about this situation. A friend of mine was trying to bring up Stalin as part of the reason why Putin's doing some stuff. And I'm like, I love you, man, but that is a crock of shit. Go back to 2014. We installed this puppet government and everything has been crazy ever since. Sky, Coin, where can people find you? Get some advice on some cryptos, where to go from here, because people are going to be asking for some life preservers coming up soon when this stuff comes through. I'm still like staring at my crypto today to make sure that, you know, it's like, okay, here we go. Is everything all right?
Yeah, no, it's a volatile market. Take profits in silver. But definitely Coin Daddy with a K and Alchemical Daddy on Twitter. And I'm Sky Zaddy with a Z on IG. And it's Cuck the World on YouTube. And it's Cuck the World on Rockfin.
She's on Rockfin. Earning that Ray token. What about
Sky,
that Matic, right?
So much.
I'm all in banking coins. I'm all utility coins. I think the only non-utility coin, well, it's a utility coin, but the only non-like banking coin I have is probably Theta.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Thank you, Sky, Coin, and Cuck the World. We appreciate you coming on and spreading some knowledge over here. You can go find her out there, ladies and gentlemen.
Bye, guys.
Bye. You have a great day, Coin.
Coin Daddy. Fam, get it right.
Coin Daddy is there in the house. Thank you so much, Sky. Coin Daddy. Guys, 76 people hanging out on Rockfin. Let's get that number up.
Let's get the numbers up. Like, share, and subscribe, guys. Come on.
Tony watches closely, hanging out with Larry Fine and Jesus on the YouTubes with Tina Q8 and Leo Talls. 3 core grifters over there as well. Guys, get on over to the Rockfin. ROKFIN. Now is the time. Come on over. Show some love. We're going to be all over. We're going to be on YouTube and Rockfin throughout the whole show today. There's not going to be a Rockfin only section, but we do appreciate people getting over to our Rockfin. And if you have a few extra bucks and you want to endorse us for $9.99 a month, you get our content. That's premium plus everybody else's content across the board. It's an awesome deal. It's a great way to help out. Of course, we have a Patreon, a PayPal, all those things. You can always go to theconvocouch.com to find any link that works for you as well. We really do appreciate it. Fam, I'm going to read a couple super rays and then we'll get really back to the next topic. Sound good?
Mm-hmm.
Right says, F Biden, the effing demented diaper-wearing douche canoe. Let me do that right for you. Trey Wright says, fuck Biden, that fucking demented diaper-wearing douche canoe. All right, that's Trey Wright. Trey, we love you. Hope you're doing well. Love your hat, Kristen Nye. Fam, Kristen Nye left you a Super 8 contribution. You know what I have to say to her? It's always appreciated on the couch. Thank you very much, guys, for getting that rolling. Fam?
Okay.
Fam?
Yes, fam.
Fam. Biden is now, and this is what I'm talking about, like literally, and, you know, Sky talked about this. President Biden announces a ban on Russian oil imports. Today, I'm announcing the United States is targeting the main artery of the Russian economy. The American people will deal another powerful blow to Putin's war machine. Now, number one, fam, we are not at war with Putin, right? I mean, this is supposedly him dealing with his neighboring on the border, Ukraine, which has a lot of ethnic speaking Russians in that country. I know people want to go back and say this is Putin's desire to expand. Putin is doing imperialism, fam, is what people are saying, that he must be stopped. But at the end of the day, who's going to really suffer and pay for it with these moves? Us, for every day to try to go get gas to get around. Have you seen some of the prices out here yet, fam?
Yeah, I mean, the debate is whether or not the prices were going to go up. I think they were going to go up, but I also think that they're being obviously aided by this whole thing. And the Democrats knew that this was going to happen. I mean, the establishment in general, they knew this was going to happen. They wanted this to happen, and they don't mind sacrificing working people. They're in fact painting it as your patriotic duty that you don't mind that prices are going up. And they're saying, if you don't want prices to go up, if you're not willing to pay $5, $6, $7 for a gallon of gas, that you must be a deplorable, you must be a Republican, you must be this. I've seen countless tweets. Oh, like, it's our duty. I'm willing to pay more for gas if we stick it to Putin. And it's completely stupid, for one. Two, that's fine. You can pay more for gas, but a lot of people can't afford to pay $5, $6, $7 a gallon for gas. $4 is already a lot in a lot of places where the minimum wage is still $7 an hour. So you're not going to tell people to pay the equivalent, near the equivalent of what their hourly pay is for gas. Especially also now this affects businesses, particularly small businesses too. I have friends that were giving out gas cards for their business, and now they're not going to be able to do that. It's just completely going to destroy not just the economy of Russia via sanctions. Obviously, Russia will be affected, but Russia has other avenues to make a profit. But the European Union, particularly Germany, that depends a lot on the gas from Russia, will be absolutely devastated. And they're already sanctioning Russia, and some people are saying, hey, this is going to screw our economy. This is going to screw our economy. Yeah. There's a reason why the Biden administration went over to Nicolas Maduro to try to talk to him about potential purchases after not recognizing and trying to coup Maduro and replace him with Guaido. There's a reason the United States is going to Iran. The United States isn't, winning the war here. I mean, their proxy war. This isn't, Ukraine isn't winning anything. If you pay attention, you see really who has overextended their hand. And the US and NATO have absolutely overextended their hand on this, and they know this, and they are weaponizing it still to manufacture consent for this new Afghanistan war with via Russia, Ukraine.
Yeah, and this has nothing to do with the history. This has nothing to do with communism, Stalinism. This is about geopoliticals. This is about resources. This is about proxy wars. This is about the United States and the West wanting to turn Ukraine into another Afghan situation for Russia. And if they turn it into an Afghan situation for Russia, that's bad for Russia. But what people don't realize, and they should look at our own government when we do this, because there's some people, you're going to blame the United States again now for this move for Putin? Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we wanted to turn it in Afghanistan, and that is bad for the Russians, but it's awful, fam. It is just terrible for everyday Ukrainians. That's why I played that video with those crows hanging out and go right over there and take a look. There's corn in there, and he goes to get it, and he blows up and gets zapped. Because we didn't give a shit about these people. We haven't cared about them. And now Biden's pretty much saying he doesn't care about you at home. If you watched Roar Media yesterday's one-up with Oz and Shanda, they talked about Stephen Colbert going, I'll pay more money, fam, because it will make me look, more morally superior to everybody else. Yeah, you can afford it, you cuck. But the everyday person can't. Fam just mentioned the minimum wage, what it is and everything, and how much people are suffering. You think right now, coming out of a pandemic, they have to deal with this now? Now it's going to cost them more money just to get around? Here's Zombie Joe with his little speech telling the American people, sorry, suck it up, big boy and big girl. It's on you.
Today, I'm announcing the United States is targeting the main artery of Russia's economy. We're banning all imports of Russian oil and gas and energy. That means Russian oil will no longer be acceptable at U.S. ports, and the American people will deal another powerful blow to Putin's war machine. This is a move that has strong bipartisan support in Congress and, I believe, in the country. Americans have rallied to support their Ukrainian people and made it clear we will not be part of subsidizing Putin's war.
And it's neocons and war criminals in both parties that are uniting to basically throw poor people under the bus for this, this ego-driven stand up to Putin, when it's really not at all something that is winnable for the United States whatsoever. It's not winnable. And it's really gross seeing how they're framing this. And this is, like if you watch mainstream media and this is all you see, then just the propaganda that's happening around Russia has been really just astounding. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny. I put on MSNBC and CNN yesterday, a little Fox, to try and see what was going on from their perspective about Ukraine. They don't show a lot of footage over there, fam. They're kind of just a bunch of people talking and making insinuations and projections and stuff. And then you switch over to RT and they're constantly on the ground. Constantly, you get a picture of what's going on. So you can see one side trying to frame a narrative and the other one actually showing what's going on. And by the way, the guy who's telling you what we need to do, this is him over here. This is your, oh, anything is better than Trump. Look at this clown.
We are screwed.
I had to play the Michael Scott because the guy can't even exit off a fucking stage, fam. Like, I mean, who the hell? You really believe that this guy got more votes than any president in the history of the United States? Okay.
Okay, moving on.
Oh, my God. So, I mean, I don't want to talk too much about the Fourth Industrial Revolution and the World Economic Forum and stuff, fam, because a lot of times we talk about what's really going on. And a lot of people are starting to say this now. I was watching Crosstalk yesterday, and one of the guests was talking the fact that he thinks that a lot of the moves that we're seeing are all about the Fourth Industrial Revolution, where a lot of the leaders of these nations really aren't making decisions based upon the benefit of their citizens or their people who live in their countries. They're making decisions from what is told to them from up high. And this is going to hurt a lot of people. What Biden's move, when he's pointing the finger at Putin for being off, is going to hurt the American, everyday person in their pocket. Well, same thing over here in Russia. Now here's Putin. He's making a move as well. We get to this phase where it's you sanction me, I'll sanction you. Putin signs countermeasure decree limiting Russian exports after Biden's Russian oil import ban. Within hours of Joe Biden announcing a far-reaching ban on all U.S. imports of Russian oil, while warning Americans that gas prices are about to go up even further, Vladimir Putin is reported to have signed his own countermeasure decree. Russia's RIA news agency is reporting that the new decree blocks all exports of raw materials from Russia of certain materials, and state media reports noting the specific list will be made public in 2 days. Fam, we've already had reports that the ruble is kind of like it's losing its value almost.
The ruble, yeah.
The ruble, thank you. I said the ruble. The ruble, sorry. Fam knows all about the currency. She educates me on that. It's already losing its value like crazy. And something like this situation happened before. Sometimes you can only think like, is this just all theater playing out in front of us so these global leaders can do what they're told from the WEF, the World Economic Forum, and sack everybody and crush the economies of the small working people so they just turn on each other?
So for me, it's like, I get that there is this like world economic global agenda happening, but at the same time, I also think Russia as a country has suffered a lot. It's a country that has lost over 100 million people during World War II fighting the Nazis, and then of course Americans came in and took the credit as the defeaters of the Nazi regime. They have gone through, the period of the USSR, and the end of that period was extremely difficult. They have faced, the fall of the Berlin Wall, a lot of things that have happened in Russia, the many revolutions have pretty much made it a country of people that have suffered. And I think that this situation, as much as I do look at the whole global aspect of it and how it's being distracting from a lot of things happening with, the pandemic's now forgotten. It's taken a back seat. I think that there is an actual pushback towards the Western sort of unilateral hold on in Europe, and its attempt to expand even further east. Its attempt to wage some sort of power struggle with China and Russia, Iran, and the West and East Asia. And I think that you're seeing that power struggle play out in this. And I think that the pushback that's happening is a real pushback by the country of Russia, because of the fact that there are these groups that are being used, these radical groups, just like the United States used radicals in West Asia to exert more control by the West and more demands. And I don't think we know exactly how each leader of each country is going to play out. They could be playing both sides. It could be playing, several things here. But I think that there is a legitimate pushback against the Western hegemony. And by the way, just in terms of this, I would do the same thing if I were Putin, because it's the same thing with the censorship. Why would you want Facebook and Twitter putting out their propaganda and the national security state apparatus of the West completely spying on you, while you and your point of view, your perspective or whatever gets completely banned in the US? It's at this point, you have no choice but to play tit for tat. It is a game of chess. And, Russians are really good at chess. They really, really are. And I think people need to understand that at this point. And, Russians play chess more like me, Pasta, versus you, which is you come in and you attack. Boom, 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 boom.
I'm the United States in chess, and Fam is Russia for sure.
It's true.
It is true.
He comes in and attacks, and he's like, I'm going to get you. And I'm like, wait a minute, Pasta. I'm going to sit back and wait. And I think that's what we're seeing. And I'm not excited about this war. I mean, obviously I agree with you. A lot of people, working class people, are going to get hurt, and a lot of people are hurting, and it's going to get worse. And it's always the poor people in both, whether it's Russia, Ukraine, the United States, that always suffer the most for rich men's wars, right? That's always been the thing that I despise, which what makes me an anti-imperialist. At the same time, I think somebody needed to put their foot down in respects to this. There's been a lot of violations, from the Minsk Accords to the eastward expansion of NATO to the arming and funding of neo-Nazis and completely pretending that that's not happening. I think that that is more than enough reason to push back and to protect themselves against what's happening here.
Yeah, I agree. For the record, ladies and gentlemen, Fiorella's beat me once in chess. The second game we were playing, the board got knocked over. It was a tight game. I'm going to confess something right now, because I kind of was saying that I still was in that game. It was the point of the game where Fee was going to start taking over and she had me trapped, because every single time I come in there, very different than Jonny. Johnny's like, oh no, whatever. And then I can get him, right? Because I've beaten Jonny a couple times at chess. He's a good chess player, but I can still beat him. Fee, she almost she's always thinking 2 moves ahead. And every single time after I make the move, she'll make a move. And I was like, oh shit, I didn't think about that. Now I got to readjust. Oh, here I go again. Oh, now I got to readjust. So I think Russia has made their move. And now the United States is trying to readjust And part of their readjustment is really hard because they can't erase history. They can't erase what they did, especially in 2014 when we got all the receipts. But our good friend Kyle Kuklinski has a tweet up, and when I first read this, I was saying, is he being sarcastic? The guy who couldn't make his way off the stage. Go ahead and put it up, Oz. Banning Russian oil is part of the base Comrade Biden's grandmaster plan to normalize relations with Venezuela, Iran, and Cuba, ushering an era of American socialism. Trust the plan, fam.
So, I mean, I think there's a sort of thing that Kyle does where he's sarcastic, but also serious. And he does this a lot in his tweets, and all his little supporters are like, well, he's just joking. But then he's not joking in part of it. He has been cheering on Biden this whole time, pretty much. The entire State of the Union address too. So
exactly, no, right. And then he went back on it.
Yeah, you can't just say, oh, he's just joking. But he's not. If you think Joe Biden, aside whether he's joking or not, if you think Joe Biden is in any way trying to normalize relations with Venezuela, Iran, and Cuba, and Biden is the puppet, right? If you think the United States Department of Defense and the State Department are gonna, somehow start being nice to these socialist countries and these countries that they've hurt and killed, been responsible for the deaths of so many people, you don't know what the United States, the United States government is completely all thinking ahead. They're completely way figuring out how they're going to do this. They're going to act diplomatically. But if Maduro knows anything, if anybody knows anything about this, is you don't negotiate with these people. You must always keep them at arm's distance. And that's one of the things that, we criticize about Honduras, where we felt like they're being too open. And I understand that need to be open and diplomatic. When you're a politician, you have to some sort of degree, talk to people you hate. I mean, you can go back to World War II, when Chamberlain met with Hitler. You can go. I mean, people were meeting with Hitler from all over Europe. They were talking to him, and some of them knew who he was, and some of them didn't. And there are a lot of parallels happening right now between what was happening prior to World War II and what is happening now. But it is not in the same vein as Putin is trying to install the Sudetenland and he's Hitler. No. This is once again Russia attempting to stop this neo-fascist takeover in this region. And also the fact that it's also pointing out to who is NATO, who is the intelligence, and people are kind of becoming aware of, oh, okay, this is sort of familiar. History doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. And what we're seeing here is a poem being played out in front of us where we're seeing the rhyming sequence happening. And it's not exact, but if we don't put a stop to this, and we don't have more of a resounding understanding of historical context and how we got here, and even further back than 2014, even further back than 91, even further back than 79, to World War II, we're going to repeat the same mistakes. And we can't allow that. We can't afford to have World War III, because World War III would be the end of so many things as we know it. Yeah. And that's not an exaggeration.
No, not at all. Sticks and Stones is next for World War IV. Erasmo Acosta made a little video when Kyle Kuklinski was saying stuff last week. So I figured we show it today, fam. And this is our boy over here. Check him out. A little song for you.
Fuck the shit leaves. Fuck them now before they fuck you. Fuck me once, fuck me twice, fuck me a third time. Vote blue no matter who's gonna buy Gendias. If you want healthcare and climate action, just vote blue. It's the biggest scam they are pulling on you. Fuck the shit lips. Fuck them now before they fuck you.
Hey! Fam, he had a fuck capitalism shirt on, replying to Kyle Kuklinski. I just had to play that. We were singing that around the house, so I just wanted to bring you that. I figured you would appreciate it.
Who is that? That deserves a follow.
I know. I followed him.
I need to follow this guy right now. This is that's hilarious and everything. Fuck the shit lives.
Fuck this shit lib. Now, before I get
That's
into this next part,
hilarious.
fam, I want to say this much. I've been calling out right now Lindsey Graham a lot. And, you know, I've been talking about how, okay, the reason why I was a Democrat in the first place was the Iraq war, because we saw all these conservatives, neocons. Then we saw a lot of establishment Democrats bend the knee. But at the time, I was fooled by them, thinking that they were really the opposition party. They were actually the partner there that just put up a little theater. Robert Reich is one of those guys we talked about who, you know, we supported Bernie over Hillary and whatnot. But I mean, he's part of this whole freaking clan now of just putting up these ridiculous, absurd tweets, making fucking just bullshit comments and really supporting this war, just being anti-Russian as could be. Here he is. Biden's ban on Russian energy imports won't be particularly impactful, but it will disproportionately impact low-income people already hurt by high gas prices. Congress must act to help Americans caught in the energy squeeze. Ending the child tax credit would be a great start. We shouldn't have to choose. What's that?
He said extending.
I'm sorry. Extending the child tax credit would be a good start. We shouldn't have to choose between fighting Putin and taking care of Americans. We can and must do both. So there he goes. At the end of the day, he's still saying we should still do this anyways. You know what I'm saying? He's just trying to virtue signal with this bullshit, you know. And then the next tweet, which just drives me up a fucking wall, fam. Russian oil and gas come soaked in blood. I'm going to hand it over to you because I don't know what American oil comes soaked in.
So Robert Reich is essentially, you know, a guy who took advantage of the fact that Bernie was running to promote just reformist policies through the same type of economic system. And I see that now. You know, I was giving him accolades for at least being pro-Bernie at that time. But so much has happened in such a short amount of time. The Fiorella from 2015 was, you know, a young summer child compared to the one now, because I mean, this.
Thumbs up, young summer child. No. Go to full screen, whatnot, and Fee got frozen. But yeah, I mean, what Fee was saying is that a lot of these
just the epitome.
All right, she'll come back in. What Fee is trying to say, and then we've talked about this plenty of times, the fact is that a lot of people we thought that we were aligned with nowadays, they're just completely gone. They've missed the plot. Bernie Sanders got to be one of the biggest cucks of all time. He has fallen so far from fucking grace. And it reminds me of his decisions when it came to Kosovo and Bosnia and the Serbian situation. It's almost identical as, again, it's at the end of the day, he's going to fold like a lawn chair. Bam, you're back. You were talking about your ex-boyfriend, Robert Reich. What happened?
Yeah, so he blocked me on Twitter, which is like really weird. Like, I don't know. I never really said much to him, but yeah, I mean, this is just typical. And I wanted to comment on what he said because he's absolutely right. This is going to hurt working people. But his solution, just even look at his solution, extending the child tax credit. What does that have to do with anything? That's not going to help anything. People need money. They need cash. They need like spending money. They need to not be punished for what the United States wants to do. You know what would help is if we stopped involving ourselves, removed our involvement, completely said, okay, we're Ukraine. You solve it. You agree with Russia's, Putin's demands of denazification and demilitarization. You get to keep your country because Putin isn't trying to take over Ukraine. And we just step out and we just say, fine, NATO won't expand. Sign it on paper and maybe have, Russia's going to demand a little bit more security now from Ukraine because they were violating the Minsk Accords before and from NATO. But like, okay, fine, we remove ourselves from the situation. You stop the sanctions, stop the censorship, stop all of that. But no, that's the solution, Robert. But they're not going to do that. They're just going to give you milquetoast, like some sort of crumbs here or there. Well, if we just gave the child tax credit, which is part of the Build Back Better plan, which we know isn't a Build Back Better. We know it's the Great Reset. And so I have no patience for people like that anymore.
I know. And like I was just mentioning Bernie Sanders and where he's at on the situation. It's sad. I don't think there's anybody who's falling further from grace than Bernie Sanders, but we still see a lot of progressives out there still sharing his thing, his virtue signaling, whatnot. You know, he'll never stand up to power when push comes to shove. He'll just say his lines, he'll get his following, he'll make his money, and he'll move on his way.
Well, Pasta, the reason they're regurgitating, a lot of these idiots are regurgitating the same State Department talking points is because Bernie, their leader, is doing it. Because unfortunately, some people look to a leader and they elevate them to the status of godliness, where they cannot be criticized and where they're forever, you know, love them and like not be able to criticize them. And that's what Bernie has become. He just regurgitates whatever Biden is saying, whatever the State Department is saying. And so because Bernie is doing it, they're like, see, Bernie. And that's obviously was used. And that is what pisses me off more than anything. More than anything is that he's allowing himself to be weaponized to sheep herd people into a imperialist mindset. It's more than just the Democratic Party. It is an imperialist pro-global agenda mindset that he's being used for under the guise of some sort of, you know, phony socialist, democratic socialist.
Ma'am, did you just call Bernie a phony socialist?
He's a dem socialist. He's not even a.
Yeah,
anyway. Well,
that's where we're at. Okay, so and good point. I mean, it's just kind of getting nauseating at this point, and they're seeing the report this. Now, I put up this next person stuff over here. This is my friend and our friend, I should say, David Bond. He's on Instagram, a hiker stoned. He's an activist. He likes to write, whatnot. He has a great Substack. Go ahead and check it out. The Breaker of Sheeple. Why Putin isn't wrong. If you're blaming Russia instead of the U.S. for the crisis in Ukraine, you probably believe that Saddam had WMDs, the CIA didn't kill Kennedy, and COVID vaccines are safe and effective. And they are safe and effective, according to the CDC. Just want to point that out. But the reason why I brought up his articles, he's got 3 articles in his Substack right now. This one's a really great one because you see Robert Reich talking about, extending the child tax credit. You said it is fugazi right there. Who cares if the price has got to go up? Well, why can't we have nice things? Here's a breakdown of foreign assistance that went to Ukraine from 2001 to 2020. These are your tax dollars at work in America. 2001, $144 million. 2002, $173 million. 2003, $95 million. 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, anywhere from $130 million up to $300 million. 2011, $290 million. 12, $282 million. You can see $254 million. In 2014, $300 million. 2015, $273 million. Now you get to 2016, $500 million. $500 million again. It keeps going up and up and up and up and up and up. Damn. Why the hell are we spending so much money in Ukraine and not helping our people at home? This is why. Our imperialism is why we can't have nice things.
Yeah. I mean, and it's because, you know, we're an empire and the empire must be fed. It's that simple. You don't live in a democracy. Republicans, you don't live in a republic, you don't live in a constitutional representative republic either. You live in an oligarchy, and people falling for this, you know, the culture war bullshit that goes on. Need to stop it right now because we're all being screwed by now by your red team and your blue team. And they've shown that. I mean, I'll probably put it up next show, but I didn't get a chance to put it in. AOC voted along with Lauren Boebert and the Madison Cawthorn and Pramila Jayapal. They all came together and voted for more Border Patrol security after running on this sort of, anti-border security, pro-immigration, kids in cages, oh my God, that sort of thing. When everybody's focused on Ukraine and all this stuff, they quietly, pass. It's a bipartisan bill that was introduced. And you have both Democrats and Republicans doing it. Why? Because there's no difference. And there's still people arguing with me that there's a difference. There's only a difference in rhetoric and syntax. Other than that, I mean, and I respect, and I'd rather have Lauren Boebert didn't run on being, the leader of a bad immigration policy. She didn't do a photo shoot where she was crying outside of the cages. I don't expect anything from her. The reason why it's these people, these progressives need to be continuously exposed is because they're still duping people because they ran on these things. And this is all part of the imperialist agenda because, when you talk about immigration, We know why immigration happens. Now you have people like AOC and the squad. We need to accept Ukrainian immigrants and blah, 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 blah. But what about the other fucking immigrants south of the border that you're not accepting? What about the Syrian immigrants, the Yemeni immigrants, the immigrants from Haiti, the country that we've consistently been intervening in and caused regime change? Like, when does it end? Republicans, why don't you focus more on ending interventionism so you don't have all these people coming here because we fucked up their countries? It's that simple. And this just goes on and on and on, and nothing is said about that. And yet again, now we're involving ourselves in another proxy war where it's going to hurt people in Russia, people in Ukraine. It's going to hurt people here. At the end of the day, what do you have to gain from it other than putting a Ukrainian flag and feeling virtuous about yourself, about going to some stupid pro-NATO Azov battalion-led rally where they're literally wearing the fucking emblem of neo-Nazis and you're just waving your flag like a moron while your economy is going to tank. It's going to tank so bad.
Yeah. Let's talk about your red team, blue team illusion that you just mentioned there, right? And the fact that the squad hasn't been standing up and talking about anything or anybody, any progressive. Instead, progressives in the House, progressives like Ro Khanna, are praising Hillary Clinton, right? That's where we're back to that again. But if you guys want to still think that these people, blue team's better than red team, that's on you. Let me show you that blue team is not better than red team. So here's the Wall Street Journal. Biden administration is seeking $10 billion for Ukraine aid. Okay. So they're playing again. The White House is also asking Congress for additional funding to fight the COVID-19 pandemic. All right, but there it is. People go, well, Trump never did anything. He didn't. No, Trump, the next one, administration, approves a new scale of anti-tank weapons to Ukraine. The weapons kept flowing while Trump was in office. At one point, he tried to withhold it for information, but that's not really what was going on. The whole time they were funding people, and it went into the hands of the neo-Nazis, who have a significant role inside the government, the military, the street politics, and whatnot. And here's again, the U.S. will send Ukraine another $250 million in weapons, gear, and other aid. The upcoming delivery will bring a total to the counter Russia aid to Eastern European nation to the tune of $1.75 billion, fam. You can tell this is why we don't have nice fucking things.
Why are
both parties play ball?
Like, I don't understand why the morons that have Ukrainian flags all over their profile pictures or whatever, I mean, it's the same people that had the masks and said, oh, well, I have a comfortable or whatever resistance to authority or whatever, reasonable, whatever. And then why aren't you mad? I mean, be selfish for a second, right? Or don't be, I mean, I'm not saying be selfish because you guys are already selfish, but be like, stop pretending you're not, is what I'm saying, because it's all a virtue signal, because you're not really doing anything for Ukrainian people by supporting this war whatsoever. You're actually screwing them more, because this isn't about Ukrainian independence or Ukrainian people. This is about a proxy war that the US and NATO want with Russia, right? So let's say for a second, if you start asking yourself, why the hell is it okay that we give 250 million and this is just once? Oh, and this is just for Ukraine. What about the money that we constantly give to Israel so they can continue bombing and killing Palestinians? And Syrians, because they bomb Syria every other day. Damascus was just bombed 2 days ago. I mean, and so, like, why doesn't it anger you that this is happening? The moment somebody from the State Department, Bernie or some other idiot goes and says, we need to defend democracy in Ukraine, you just virtue signal with your Ukrainian flag, and you're not helping anything. You're literally not helping. You're actually promoting the war machine, perpetuating its existence under the guise of Putin is bad.
Yep.
Why doesn't it bother people, the vast amount of money when people here are screwed and they're going to be even more screwed?
And let me make something clear, fam. We use Ukraine as a weapon, meaning we, when I say the United States, I shouldn't say we, the military, the foreign policy, the elites, the predator class, whoever's calling the shots, use Ukraine as a weapon. We wanted a proxy war against Russia. And the thing about it is, now we're at where we're at. They don't want to end this by compromise. They don't want to end this with peace and talks and coming to a conclusion where it worked for both sides without killing each other with missiles and whatnot. No, they want to end this, the West, by force, whether it be military or economic force. That's it. That's their rhetoric. That's what's going on. From what I heard the other day, and I don't know if this is true, I'm going to try to clarify this, that nobody from the Pentagon has been talking to the Russian Defense Ministry right now to try to find a way for a peaceful solution moving forward. No one. There are no talks. They're at where they want to be. They're doing what they want to do. And that's what's going on right now. And the military industrial complex, just like the big pharma industrial complex just made a ton of money, they're set to make a ton of money because all this money that we're seeing right now, this aid is going to go through weapons. In the military industrial complex, they don't care who wins the war. They don't care who loses the war, fam. All they care about is that we have the war.
Yep.
That's it. But Joe Biden's going to tell us, fam, we know who to blame here, right? Right, Oz? Show them who's to blame, fam.
It's going to go up. Can't do much right now. Russia's responsible.
Russia's responsible, fam. It's going to go up. But it's not. It's Putin's fault. Russia's responsible. Oz, I put that last clip in there real quick because I forgot to put it in the folder. It's a video if you can bring it up. But fam, your thoughts on Biden just completely telling people it's going to go up, but it's Putin's fault. We didn't make any decision. We didn't do anything in 2014. We haven't been funding anybody. It's Russia's fault, fam, not ours.
I mean, what do we expect from Biden, right? This is all, I mean, they need to manufacture consent somehow. And the unfortunate part is people are so propagandized that, and now the censorship is out of control. Because if the censorship wasn't there, you'd see less people propagandized. You'd see more people watching alternative media, more people watching, any other type of media. The problem is that they think, oh, well, I can't even watch RT because if I watch RT, that means it's just a Russian perspective. So that's like, where am I going to? You have to watch that because those people from the region know more what's going on than any moron here that doesn't even leave their house or their studio. Just like what we experienced when we went to Nicaragua and when we were there on the ground saying one thing, the New York Times person that was nowhere near Nicaragua was completely saying a bunch of bullshit, like they were closing polling stations and all of that. We had to debunk it live, but guess what? We don't have millions and millions of viewers. We're not on national television. We're demonetized. I mean, this is the result of that. This is what happens. And this is why they get to manufacture consent, because they have to shut down every single voice that's out there that contradicts any other point of view. And also people are really, really clinging on to the idea that there's still some sort of hope in this country, because in terms of that they're not being lied to, they think, well, do you really think the whole world is lying? Yes, it's the whole world isn't necessarily lying, but who controls the media controls the thought, controls the process. Social media too controls what people hear, and so they control essentially what people think. So it's not necessarily that the whole world is lying, it's that the whole world is being lied to and fed propaganda, and they're believing it because they don't know anything else. So it's not as simple as the whole world is lying. It's as simple as who gets to tell the story? The people in power. And who are the people in power? They're the ones that are going to write the history books. We have to stop that, because we know for a fact that what we were taught for so long has been entirely false. Everything we've been taught has been just, it could be soul crushing in some ways, because you just realize that your whole life you've been lied to about everything, and your whole perception of what's going on really is false. I wanted to play this clip over here. And by the way, right, what you talk about who's controlling the narrative, he who controls the present also controls the past. I believe that was in 1984, because they can rewrite history. They can control what's printed, how people are educated on their history. They can control that narrative. When you have all the money, you can present a past or a history that is kind of profitable and beneficial for what you want to do moving forward, meaning the predator class and the ruling class. That is what's going on. Retired Colonel McGregor, Douglas McGregor, went on Fox the other day, and it was so kind of funny. I forgot which Brit this is on Fox over here, fam. But if he has his Fox, but you just watch his whole kind of reaction of, like, he was so taken back of what Douglas McGregor was talking about. And those of us who do watch RT and do watch what's going on the ground over there have a different perception of what's really going on from what they're telling us on the mainstream media. Take a look at retired Colonel Douglas McGregor when he's giving his, and this was a Trump guy, right? So he's giving his analogy of what's really going on the ground in Ukraine.
The first 5 days, Russian forces, I think, frankly, were too gentle They've now corrected that. So I would say another 10 days, this should be completely over. But the question is, what is it that Zelensky is going to do? The Russians have made it very clear what they want is a neutral Ukraine. This could have ended days ago if he accepted that. And then they can adjust the borders. But the eastern part of Ukraine is firmly in Russian hands. But again, the Russians are not seizing territory. They're destroying Ukrainian forces. That's their focus.
Colonel, it sounds like you don't approve of Zelensky's stand.
Oh, I think Zelensky is a puppet. And he is putting huge numbers of his own population at unnecessary risk. And quite frankly, most of what comes out of Ukraine is debunked as lies within 24 to 48 hours. The notions of taking and retaking airfields, all of this is nonsense. It hasn't happened.
He's not a hero? I mean, he's standing up for himself and his own people? You don't think he's a hero?
No, I do not. I don't see anything heroic about the man. And I think the most heroic thing that he can do right now is to come to terms with reality. Neutralize Ukraine. This is not a bad thing. A neutral Ukraine would be good for us as well as for Russia. It would create the buffer that, frankly, both sides want. But he's, I think, being told to hang on and try to drag this out, which is tragic for the people that have to live through this.
I'm inclined to disagree with you, Colonel, but, you know, we'll see how this works out. Colonel Douglas McGregor, tough guy. Thanks for being with us, sir. We'll see you again soon. Thank you.
Pam,
if I don't disagree with you, Fam, if I don't disagree with you, Fam, I'll be fired. So,
but wait, do you not see Zelensky as a hero, Fam? No, Fam?
Oh! Should I do the Jimmy Dore laugh?
Yeah.
Like,
it deserves a.
You can do it better. There you go. You got the.
It deserves that laugh because it's ridiculous. But it was great seeing that, you know, and everything he was talking about, all this debunking. Because, like, you know, when I was watching RT the other day, I was seeing like Russia was taking over an abandoned military base. They were taking over a nuclear base.
Yeah.
Some of the soldiers in Ukraine were just giving up, and you were seeing all this artillery, all that money that we showed earlier in the show. You were seeing where it was going to, right? You know, it's like it's obvious the West wanted to turn Ukraine into another Afghan situation and didn't give a damn about the people there. And now it's either coming back to bite them in the ass, or this is the globalist agenda to keep us all distracted while they crash the economies, the people suffer, turn against each other, and they have more control. We don't know for sure, but I mean, if you are arguing the who's at fault, Russia or Putin versus United States and the West, it's very easy to say, you know, this is the United States and the West doing everything, all the moves they've made, all the coups they've had. This is what's going on right now. And it's to be expected that Putin would strike back on his border when a neighbor who's controlled by the West with a puppet government is threatening to obtain nuclear weapons while shelling ethnic-speaking Russians in the Donbass. What move and choice did Putin really have?
Agreed, 100%. I'm excited for the next section and the next couple sections because they're very important.
Do you want to roll into it, or shall I read some super rays real quick?
If you want to read the couple.
It is only a few. Let me read them too, because there's some great people in there. Tony watches closely. Thank you for the super ray contribution. Keep up the great work. Love y'all, Convo. Tony is old school. He's my ride or die guy from Tejas. We love you, Tony. We've always appreciated you. Can't wait to meet you one day. Let's make that happen soon. The Rebel Otaku, or is it Otaku? The Rebel, thank you for the Super Ray contribution. It is always appreciated on the couch, you rebel scum. Mary Scary, love you guys. Mary Scary, even though you're scary, Mary, we still love you.
Is that your real name?
It's Mary Scary, fan. Don't make fun. These people got, they got, they are there. Dr. Dragon, thank you for the Super Ray contribution. It is always appreciated on the couch. Love the Convo couch. Fight on. We will continue to fight on, especially Dr. Dragon, when you provide the means necessary to keep the wheels greased and keep us moving, because we are totally supported by you and not the mainstream media cucks and the oligarchs and all the other people who get all these narrative management people to get doing what they're doing, what Fam has been talking about on this show. That's what they're not lying to it. We're being lied to, right? That's the whole thing. That's what's going on. AREM, any comments on what Venezuela might be thinking or should be thinking about recent U.S. Overtures? Fam, do you want to answer that? What do you think is going to happen there? Do you think that Nicolas Maduro will ask the U.S. envoys why the U.S. is not negotiating with President Guaido? Thank you so much for what you say. Convo Couch rocks. When the couch is rocking, don't it come a knocking.
We talked about it a little bit earlier. So our friends from Saskatchewan News showed like, I forget who it was, but it was a member of government of Venezuela giving their full public support of Russia, of Putin. Venezuela isn't going to back the United States against Russia in any way, shape, or form. They know who their allies are. They know. There is vast support in the global South, particularly from countries like Venezuela, Cuba, Nicaragua, and even India has been on the fence a lot when it comes to this situation. And I think it would be wise for Maduro, and I think he is wise, to really play this out, demand certain things. But I don't think he's going to go against Russia, because they, like I said, the United States will turn on them in 2 seconds. The damage they've caused, the attempts at overthrowing their government, that's not forgotten by the Venezuelan people, the loyal Venezuelan people that live in the country and that have suffered immensely as a result of that. So,
what's the name of the guy? I'm going to put it up right now. Oh my God, who they grabbed the other day? They grabbed him like a year ago. They were doing
Alex Saab.
Alex. All right. Well, here's the thing, right? We saw some prisoners get released from Maduro in Venezuela. Is that true? Because I heard that was happening. There were some American-friendly prisoners that might have been released from Venezuela. Are we going to possibly see that maybe
Free Alex Saab.
Maybe we'll see Alex Saab get free? That's what I'm hoping for.
That should be one of the demands. I think our friend Ben Rubenstein laid out certain demands Venezuela should make right now. and by the way, that's just indicative of how much the U.S. doesn't have the upper hand in this situation, because they would never be going to Venezuela or Iran for anything if they had everything set like they're making people think, they have. So,
is it arepas? They have great arepas though, right?
Yeah.
That's what I heard. But Biden was dying for a chicken arepa, so he went to Venezuela to go get it. That's what I heard.
Fam, Biden, they can't send Biden to the corner. He didn't go to Venezuela. He
can't find his way off the stage.
Biden, no.
Fam, let's dive into this one, because I just want to say that this is something that I was really hesitant to talk about at first. I said, let's just wait and see if things come out. And it was conspiracy theory 2 weeks ago, and today it's conspiracy fact.
Yeah.
Take it away.
Right. So I've been kind of pushing Costa to talk about this stuff too. And like we did it with Alex Rubenstein. Yeah, the other day, Monday. What day is it? Yes, Monday. And we touched a little bit of what some of the back and forth was coming from the Russian Foreign Ministry, right? But now the U.S. confirms it. Ukraine, particularly Kiev, has denied that there's any sort of bioweapon lab going on. But the United States' famous Victoria Nuland, who is the Deputy Secretary of State, is confirming this. Also, Marco Rubio. So they're declaring also the next narrative that you guys should be aware of. That is the main point I want to get out of this whole thing. The next narrative is that if there's a bioweapon attack, it's Russia's fault, right? There is no evidence of that. It's not even a Russian lab. But if there is a bioweapon attack or a bioweapon release or a chemical release of some sorts of these anthrax, plagues, and all sorts of things that they have in these labs, it's somehow Russia's fault. And I want you guys to understand what that means. If you recall the weapons of mass destruction scenario back in the day. So let's go ahead and play this clip. There's several clips we have. The first one is going to be Victoria Nuland pretty much discussing how she's so scared that the Russians might take control of this. And if you watch the last show, you know that the Russians have in their hands, in their possession, documents proving the existence of these labs. You also know that the U.S. Embassy scrubbed the links to where you can see the the existence of the labs. You can see where where they were funded. You can see the location. The U.S. Embassy scrubbed that. A journalist completely web archived it, and you can also go to that web archive. I think it was Game of India that had it, and the journalist was Sarah Westall. And so you guys can go look at that if you missed the last show. So Victoria Nuland is saying, well, these labs, they should be under the control of Ukraine, and I'm afraid that Russians might take them. So let's take a look at what she says.
Ukraine has biological research facilities, which in fact we are now quite concerned Russian forces may be seeking to gain control of. So we are working with the Ukrainians on how they can prevent any of those research materials from falling into the hands of Russian forces should they approach.
Okay, fam, first of all,
don't get me started, man. Like, how does this lady even have a platform? And by the way, it says by her name, the Honorable Victoria Nuland. There's nothing honorable about Victoria Nuland. She's a liar. She's a warmonger. She's a criminal. She's a thief. She should be in jail. I still remember what the Icelandic people did to their corrupt politicians after they found them guilty in court. They walked them out of the courtroom, fam, put them in a dumpster, and then put them on the bus to send them to jail. If there is a God, Victoria Nuland will face those same type of consequences.
Yeah, and let's go back to what you said. You're absolutely right. I mean, but in the United States, we know that if you're a warmonger, you elevate yourself. You don't, go down in elevation status. You win Nobel Peace Prizes. So Victoria Nuland, the architect, right? The architect of the 2014 Maidan coup is basically saying that the United States is going to ensure that these Ukrainian, she calls them biological research facilities, but bioweapons labs is more accurate term. Doesn't fall into the hands of the Russians. Do you guys know where these labs are? They're at the border of Russia. Like they're right there. They're right there, guys. And I wish I had put a map. They're right there. Excuse me? Can you imagine if China had biological research facilities at the US-Mexican border? Yeah. That the U.S. would just sit back and be like, oh, yes, we're just going to allow it.
Yeah, that's all right.
Let it happen. Are you fucking kidding me? When they were trying to blame this whole thing on the China virus. I mean, this is what I mean by the double standard. This is what I mean by the hypocrisy. Sure, Victoria Nuland shouldn't even be saying anything, but it's the fact that the United States sees themselves as the police of the world. Oh, we have to stop. And these are U.S.-funded labs. She's not even talking about that yet. These are U.S.-funded labs.
Yeah. The Ukrainian has research labs. Like, get the fuck out of here. Come on, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, the light bulb has to go off. You know, when they say that part of this whole tradition, fam, of these predator class of the bloodline, whatever people, they said that they have to do this shit in your face. Well, they're doing it in your face.
So it gets worse because then we have Marco Rubio. And this is just so you know, Victoria Nuland notoriously has been a Democratic loyalist, right? Now you have Marco Rubio, one of the key friends of Juan Guaido, one of the key people that was also involved with the attempt to exert regime change in Venezuela. There he is again, more regime change for Marco. And again, this is for the Republicans. They're not your friends, these people. They play team sports. And he says, if there is any sort of, release of these biochemical chemical labs and these weapons, some sort of come out, it would be Russia who would be doing the attacks on Ukraine. Already, even though it hasn't happened, he's telling you that if it were to happen, it's automatically Russia. So he's pretty much doing the pre-crime situation, which is actually a thing now in our government. But I digress. Let's just play the clip.
If there's a biological or chemical weapon incident or attack inside of Ukraine, is there any doubt in your mind that 100% it would be the Russians that would be behind it?
There is no doubt in my mind, Senator, and it is classic Russian technique to blame on the other guy what they're planning to do themselves.
Fam, that's classic Russian technique to blame the other guy. This is what we're talking about. All those years they programmed you to hate Russia so that you automatically think, yeah, Ivan Drago was a bad guy. He was taking steroids against Sylvester Stallone, and that's why he killed Carl Lewis. You know what I'm saying? What's his name? He killed Apollo Creed because he was cheating and taking steroids, and the Russians are bad, and blah, blah, blah. And fam, and that's why she could say things like that and get away with it.
Classic Russia, just classic right?
Russian smearing. The classic fucking lying, Victoria Nuland, comes from you, and we got the receipts.
Projection. If you ever want to know the definition of projection, look at that. Because
Victoria Nuland.
I mean, we can go back to the Lusitania. You can go back to 9/11. You can go back to the fact that they said that the World War II was ended with U.S. troops, and also the bombing of Hiroshima was necessary to end and get the Japanese. And they leave out the part where the Russians had already conquered the Japanese army. Like it's this whole thing where if you want to know about false flags, please just go back through U.S. history and know that the United States government has been the #1 arbiter of false flags. And this is just, it's hilarious. I laugh because it's a joke. It's a joke to me when you have these two warmongers just completely saying, well, if this happens, and it's Russia's fault, right? So they're setting in stone what could potentially be the next move, which is if there's some sort of bioweapons release, then it's going to be Russia doing it. And therefore, everybody must unite against Russia. Look, they're trying to push biochemical warfare against Americans, especially when you look at it in the context of the pandemic. When you look at it in the context of everything we just went through, I cannot say everything I want to say, but when you look at it in the context of what we just went through and the entire psyop that has been pushed time after time, from the elections to the pandemic to all of this and blah, 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 you can see how this really fits in that context. So this next one is the Russia saying, pushing back against what is happening right now. So let's watch.
Assume that the materials existing today, the confirmations that were made these days by the Ukrainian side and by the United States of America. There was a statement made by the Deputy Secretary of State, Victoria Nuland, leave no doubt, will not leave an opportunity for Washington to keep silence this time. We remember how many years, and also their attempts while spilling blood to find biological and chemical weapons throughout the world, while in fact occupying, killing people. They were looking in the wrong place. We have found instead of you. We have found your own products. We have found your biological material. It was developed primarily for military purposes. As it turns out, it was all happening in Ukraine. What were you doing there? It's a different continent. It has no borders with you. There are no bases of yours. What were they doing there under the guise of scientific research? Your specialist, among others. On a regular basis, they were giving instructions to the Ukrainian side as to the purposes of their studies involved. Now, considering that we have the evidence that cannot be refuted, we demand that you provide details. The world must know what were you intending to do there, to what end, within which deadline. What was the amount of the so-called investments in the biological activities of Ukraine? the data, materials, documents, please provide them. Enough games.
Right. So I
Enough
mean,
games.
the Russia simply demands the U.S. explains these biolabs. What were you doing there? It's a different country. It's a different continent. Why are you experimenting in Ukraine? What is that? What exactly were you doing there? We want to know exactly what was going on. They have the documents that show that they were there, but they want like, okay, then show us exactly what you were doing, because this is right on our border. Because also, isn't Ukraine interested in knowing what the hell you're doing, especially, you know, in regard to a period of time where we're seeing pandemics and diseases and all of this stuff, you know, just to put it very, you know, milquetoast. And so what exactly like is the point of you being there? They haven't responded to that. They just automatically go to Putin, Russia, and look, they're trying to keep Ukrainians from having these labs. They're trying to exert control. And if anything happens, it's Putin's fault. It's Russia's fault. So do you see how the psychological manipulation here happens, how the propaganda happens? It's a very, very simple and very reasonable ask. What were you guys doing in Ukraine? What exactly is going on here? It's dangerous. First of all, as I said before, it's a violation of international law. It's specifically a violation of the what was it, the no bioweapons rule by the UN, where you're not supposed to have any sort of bioweapons experimentation going on in these in a country, and they're violating that blatantly. So what exactly is the purpose, Pasta?
The purpose is, you know what for, and I don't want to say it because I don't want to get this thing getting taken down today, right? I don't want to get a strike on YouTube and everybody out there. But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, how long the people in America, and I'm just speaking to my fellow Americans here, how long are you going to take this BS and this lying from these people? You know what I'm saying? The fact that they're projecting U.S. labs, and you got Marco Rubio working together. And like I said, here comes all the band. They're getting back together. Here come all the neocons. They'll agree on this shit. That's a Clintonite and a hardcore conservative who says that they hate all the Democrats all the time, that they're lying, working hand in hand to dupe the people about what's really going on, and blame who? Russia. That's always their excuse. They're always going to blame either Russia or China, and it gets exhausting at some points. And that's why I'm glad you brought this next clip here with the Chinese delegate saying, yo, knock on wood, what's going on?
Exactly. So he said that the U.S. needs to disclose this information, right? Because this is the Pentagon. This is the Pentagon. This isn't, this is the Pentagon backing and funding this quote unquote research. So let's hear what he says, because what he says is really important.
Recently, the U.S. biological labs in Ukraine have indeed attracted much attention. According to reports, in these facilities, a large quantity of dangerous viruses are stored. Russia has found during its military operations that the U.S. uses these facilities to conduct military plans. According to data released by the U.S., it has 26 labs in Ukraine. The U.S. has 336 labs in 30 countries under its control. The U.S. has also conducted many biological military activities in Fort Detrick. What is the true intention of the U.S.? What has it done specifically? The international community has long held doubts. Once again, we urge the U.S. to give a full account of its biomilitary activities at home and abroad, and accept multilateral verification.
I mean,
they brought
reasonable.
up Fort Detrick, by the way, fam.
Yeah.
Fort Detrick.
Yeah, I know. So we're going to be following this. We're going to go a little bit deeper next time, probably a Rockfin only section. Because there are things that we have to talk about, because this isn't an isolated incident with everything that's happened, right? This isn't an isolated incident. And there are some people that I do want to talk to that have been on top of this for a while. But like as Steve said, this was conspiracy theory like 2 weeks ago, and now it's a real thing. Like now you have, Russia demanding answers, you have China demanding answers, you have the international community being like, what the hell are you doing? Why But then you have Victoria Nuland and Marco Rubio being like, oh, it's Russia's fault if anything bad happens. I'm not going to answer any questions. And just to add to that, this morning I saw that according to the Russian Foreign Ministry, Ukrainian forces hit a power supply at Chernobyl nuclear plant. This comes into play again, and you can show it, Oz. This comes into play again because they were trying to initially blame this on Russia, saying that Russia was trying to start nuclear war and go after Chernobyl to try to kill people. And that it didn't end up being true. But now we have confirmation by Russia that this is Ukraine hitting the power supply at Chernobyl, which is, I mean, can you imagine if it was the other way around? If Russia hit a power supply at a nuclear plant, how the Western community would be acting right now, right? But none of this is being talked about. Once again, in mainstream media, I have to go to RT to hear the side of what they're saying. There's also Russian media. There's also independent journalists on Twitter. There's some of our friends that have been posting these independent journalist sources. There's also a lot of attention to be paid at what the United States is saying, because when you look at what the United States is saying, you know that it's kind of likely the opposite of what's happening, essentially.
Absolutely,
so,
Pam.
And that's that section.
I don't know if you've ever seen My Cousin Vinny, but there's a great scene.
Of course, I've seen My Cousin.
All right,
Vinny,
so you know the opening segment, the opening comments of the opening comments of the opening arguments of the trial, when the attorney, the district attorney, goes after and he's painting a picture about what these kids did, and then My Cousin Vinny stands up. Joe Pesci, he walks up, and it's time for his opening statements, and he's like, everything that guy just said is bullshit. Thank you. That's what you have to say to all these people just from the West, from the Victoria Nuland. Everything they say is bullshit. Thank you. That's all I got to say.
That's all. That's all you need to say, fam. Let's go on to the next section, and then we'll do some
just really quickly, because Dr. Dragon has a Super Ray contribution. Thank you, Dr. Dragon. It's always appreciated on the couch. It says, Fee, so bright and beautiful, it's painful. Pasta, you're the best-looking 61% Italian guy I've ever seen on Rockfin. Thank you so much. Your hair is so nice. Your eyes are so blue. Your smile is infectious. What else can I lie about? No, thank you, Dr. Dragon. Thank you for the Super Ray contribution. It's always appreciated at the couch. It really is. And the Rebel, Araku. Thank you, the Rebel. You rebel scum, you. The Super Ray contribution is always appreciated on the couch, fam.
Fam.
I think a little bit of you dies every time I say
it does.
inside.
And cats and kittens and puppies died too, just so everybody knows.
Don't put that on me.
I am putting it on you. So this is the other thing that, Garland and Wyatt and a few of us were Alex, or we were looking at this, and it's like, we've talked about this before, I think a long time ago, and our friends Mark Sloboda has kind of talked about it. Do you remember back when Zelensky won, people were like, he's an actor who won, like, it's crazy, how the hell did an actor win? I remember us going over some of the stuff, but when you put it to side by side as to what's happening now, this is even crazier than it sounds. So let's talk about Zelensky's rise to the presidency that was played out on TV, on a TV show, and also facilitated, of course, by the Azov battalion funder. This guy funded the Azov battalion, and it froze on me, but we're gonna get into this. This is like very weird. There was an account that did an amazing thread, and you guys should read it, about pretty much from a Russian perspective of like pop culture, like what that show meant. And Zelensky was on the show, and it was a show where they were doing a lot of jokes that in the context of today are really insane, right? So just to summarize it, when Zelensky was an actor, he had a comedy show funded by Igor Kolomoisky called The Servant of the People, about a president who wants to join the EU and NATO. Igor funds the Azov battalion and later began a party in 2017 by the same name, Servant of the People. And then Zelensky ran and he was elected by that. And Zelensky jokes about this in the video below. And I'm going to read the first part of this tweet too, where he says, this is a Ukrainian comedy show where Zelensky founded. He said, I used to watch it. This video is from 2014. Like, you can't make this shut up. As per Milkov's narration, this happened when oppositional media was banned in Ukraine. So remember when we were talking about the coup, there was a point where oppositional media was banned in Ukraine, where they began trying to get rid of just anything Russian and any other perspective. So this part, just to give you guys a heads up as to what the video is gonna talk about. Garland wrote that Ukrainian media billionaire Igor Kolomoisky creates a comedy TV show called Servant of the People with president who wants to join the EU and NATO. He then starts the party in 2017 with the same name, and the star of the show gets elected to president. Hello? Igor Kolomoisky also funds the fascist Azov battalion and reportedly has a controlling interest in Hunter Biden's former employer, Burisma Holdings. So this is a deep dive that Garland kind of went on. And this is all, he's also mentioning Burisma, which is something we've mentioned multiple times as to what was happening at that time in that time period. Now, just so you guys know, if you Google Servant of the People, you will both find Servant of the People, the party, which is the party that was created, and also the TV show by that Zelensky that made Ukraine's president. I mean, the Guardian even admits it here. This is the TV show that made Ukraine's president. He starred as a president in this smart satire, only to launch a political party named after it, then win an election. I mean, they're admitting it because, I mean, it can't be hidden at this point, right? But they're just kind of throwing it out there as being coincidental, this sort of thing. And like I say many times, I do not believe in coincidences. So let's watch this video, and you guys are gonna laugh at how
this is Zelensky, the Ukrainian oligarch. And we've said this before. Ukraine is controlled by oligarchs completely. Yeah. Like it's just one oligarch fighting another. But check this out here. This is something interesting.
В это самое время на Украине появляется новый президент. Посмотрите, артист, популярный, не бедный. Талантливый человек, вы в этом можете сами убедиться. Посмотрите, что он говорил до того, как стал президентом.
Здравствуйте, дядя Игорь, тетя Валя и дядя Саша. Вопреки вашим опасениям сообщаю, что живу я хорошо, пока живу. Дальше будет еще лучше, потому что уже 3 недели, как я принят в бандеровцы. А как иначе? Иначе у нас в Украине карьеры не сделать. Хотя что я вам рассказываю, вы и так все знаете. Зарплата у меня маленькая, но это не главное. Ведь нам разрешили отбирать деньги и имущество у русских. А раньше можно было и у евреев. Но потом пришел главный бандеровец Коломойский и запретил. Я, например, сейчас учу английский язык, чтобы забыть русский. В этом мне помогают американские наемники, которые у нас тут на каждом шагу. Знаете, я женился во 2-й раз на Вадике. Для нас, европейцев, это нормально. Сегодня наш президент, самый главный, который у нас самый главный президент, Барак Обама, пообещал, что мы скоро вступим в НАТО. Пока, естественно, на правах американского прихвостня. Если есть возможность, друзья, вышлите, пожалуйста, мне книгу Гитлера «Майн кампф». А то у нас разметают. Бывало, утром выхожу на балкон и начинаю делать зарядку. От сердца к солнцу, вот так. Что я вам рассказываю, вы же так сейчас...
It's funny because it's true.
Well, I mean, he called, he was joking. Obviously, this is comedy, but every single thing Banderites, you can only make money in Ukraine with the Azov battalion. He talked about Barack Obama being the president,
the only president that mattered.
Yeah.
The West is making the choices over here. That's what it's saying.
And so I'm gonna go over some of the stuff because it's crazy when you look at it, you know, in the context of today. So I said, to sum it up, Garland puts this bluntly. In my opinion, there is nothing short of how, and the U.S. is not immune. You can look at Obama, Trump, AOC. Leaders are created, sold with a certain narrative in mind, and then selected. Many times we have called our politicians actors. We've called it kabuki theater. Well, this is why, because this doesn't happen in Ukraine. People are created. These people are fed a certain line, a certain narrative. They become influencers, and then they become politicians. And this is something the CIA has done multiple times. Interestingly enough, the State Department and the same agencies were involved in the creation of Zelensky. So I wanted to point that out. And why it went over some of these jokes, because I think it's important to lay it out, right? He joked about joining the Banderites, only way to make a career in Ukraine, small salary offset by taking money and property from Russians, which absolutely did happen. And the entire cultural evisceration of anything Russian happened. Can't do the same to Jews because of Bandera's man Kolomoisky. So, I mean, it just tells you right there, right? So many U.S. mercenaries, and we will join NATO as American henchmen. Everything that he talked about has happened in some way, some form or another, right? Anything to say, Pasta, to that?
No, I mean, it's just what I said. It's funny because it's true. And that's why the audience was laughing, because the irony that everything he was saying was so true. And it's out in the open. Even it's like, can you send me a copy of Mein Kampf? They're out of it over here. They don't have it. And people laughed about it because they understand who's in those areas in Western Kiev and whatnot, and the Ukraine. So, I mean, it's hysterical. And just to hear the excuse from the Western media saying, well, there's not Nazis over there. There's a Jewish president, fam. Okay. Right. Just watch that. Watch what Zelensky said over there back then. And everything that he said pretty much came true.
Yeah, exactly. And also, by the way, if you really go back and look at the video at some of the audience members, there were some that weren't laughing because some of them were actually beginning to start living what was happening there. Exactly. There was a few that were like literally not laughing. So go back and watch some of their faces there and take that into account. So this person that did the tweet, I'm going to go over some of the things they said because they're coming at it from a Russian pop culture aspect. And he says he's a funny guy. This was a funny skit, but note the faces in the audience actually lived through what he's trying to ridicule. They aren't laughing. It's not a fucking joke. The skit was written and performed in Russian. A little Russian pop culture lesson. Zelensky became popular after participating in a massively famous comedy competition called KVN, an acronym that stands for the Club of the Funny and the Witty. Wait, what's the next one? Mine froze, fam. You can continue reading the tweet. I'll pull it up.
Oh, it's so small. I have to pull it up.
Yeah, give me a second, Oz, because I don't know why this thing is freezing.
Let me get it up for you. I'm so sorry. This is the 3 tweets in 1 tweet, right? Yeah. Chaotic good. To this day, nothing brings people into Russia together like KVN, which famously was censored for its unapologetic, ruthless political commentary and ridicule of the Russian leaders. Zelensky decided that his team, which was a winner many times, should become its own brand. And that's exactly what happened. Zelensky basically monopolized the comedy scene in the Ukraine. To understand how a comic became a president, one must really understand how important humor is to Russian and Ukrainian people. It was our outlet and our comfort. It made us feel safe. Oftentimes, it was the only outlet that felt genuine, untouched by any censorship. But the element of unity in KVN was important as well, which made Zelensky's comedy brand emergence. It made Zelensky's comedy brand emergence symbolic. It was a way of showing Ukraine's independence. It was a political statement. He then signed. You got it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna, yeah. He then signed a contract with this 1+1 channel, which was owned by Kolomoisky, who largely funded the 2014 revolution. And by funding the 2014 revolution, they're talking about the Azov battalion. He became the governor of Dnipropetrovsk Oblast from 2014 to 2015. Zelensky gained a lot of political power from this partnership. With the exposure of this channel, the show was watched by about 20 million Ukrainian television viewers and as many as 95 million viewers on YouTube. Video clips of Zelensky playing an ordinary teacher who one day becomes the president, went viral. People loved it. By the end of 2018, Zelensky was one of the wealthiest, most recognizable people in the entire Ukraine. He owns several mansions in Ukraine, an Italian villa, and a Cyprus-based holding company that operated several media companies in Ukraine and Russia. We joke that he foreshadowed his rise to the presidency with those viral clips, but Zelensky is no ordinary man. He was far from being ordinary or middle class. Zelensky was a billionaire, whereas Russian billionaires nowadays, oligarchs. So, you know, when you always hear about oligarchs, you only hear about the Russian oligarchs. Oh, Putin's an oligarch. All these people are oligarchs. Zelensky is the biggest oligarch, okay? And nobody's talking about that. The next one, Zelensky's campaign was almost entirely virtual, using blogs, online videos, and social media to get his message out. It stood apart from other campaigns by remaining positive, mostly positive and moderate. This is where it really gets nationalist. By positive, Zelensky meant that, for instance, it was wrong to campaign just to ethnic Russian speakers or ethnic Ukrainian speakers, that both were Ukrainians and that Ukrainians should work together. Unity, but on Ukrainian terms. His campaign's official conciliatory position on the controversial language issue was that Ukrainian should be promoted, but Russian should not be banned or discouraged. This implies that there was a strong push for banning and discouraging Russian language among people. But back to this unity. Zelensky's office recently passed the law making Ukrainian country's official language. With this change, his comedy show also started to write and perform in Ukrainian, something that has never been done due to the large Russian-speaking audience. And so eventually, a lot of his Russian fans spoke out against him. And then he went on to, when he was president, he dissolved parliament and called for snap elections. And this idea that he is going to end corruption and rid the country of the oligarchs who cite his nationalist pandering somewhat won him support. But he is one of the oligarchs, so he was never going to do a lot of the things he said out he was going to do. Hoping to fill the parliament with inexperienced lawyers and policymakers, Zelensky's office really is a hollow collection of tweets and YouTube videos. His adored character carried him this far, but as we see it, he is no political or military expert, which makes him dangerous. So when we say that Zelensky is essentially a puppet, you know, from all the information we've gathered from our people that are in the region, from, you know, Mark Sloboda, people that are on RT, people that are on the ground, any sort of analysis, it really matches with this because Zelensky is not in control here. The most control are the nationalists, ultra-nationalists. And when you say ultra-nationalists in Ukraine, they're referring to the neo-Nazi groups. And so it's important that people understand that there's no separation between the people in power and the ultra-nationalists. And Zelensky was essentially created as this high public figure that, you know, was some sort of like gave people hope because he was a politician. Gee, where have we seen that before? That he was going to be one of the people, that he was just this regular guy, a teacher. You know, they created this whole idea that he was just a common guy when he was actually a very rich billionaire or an oligarch. And it reminds me so much of what happened with Trump, but also Barack Obama, and also what's happening with AOC and how we formulate these type of characters in order to make them likable to the public and essentially make them electable or selectable in other terms.
You see what you can do, boys and girls, when you control the media? You can control the narrative, and you can make a billionaire look like a guy who's coming from the grassroots. Trump, Zelensky, please, fam. It's amazing, and it's crazy that he said all this stuff. So much of it was so true, and now it's come to fruition. That's why I thought it was so great when we saw Colonel Douglas McGregor saying, I think he's a puppet.
Yeah.
Because the very next day, Lionel, your friend who you've been on Crosstalk with, he said, who is Zelensky taking orders from? That's the question now. They say he's a puppet. Who's controlling Zelensky? Is it the West? Is it directly from the West? Is it his oligarchs? Who knows? I mean, he can end this shit today, right? You know? But as long as he chooses not to, or his owners choose to make sure that he doesn't end this, right? I mean, as much as Marianne Williamson and all these other idiots, people calling him a hero and praising him, and then picking Jeremy Renner to play him in a movie while Sean Penn is trying to friggin' just, you know, help with the, what do you call it, the narrative control. Forget about it. Forget about it. The guy is no bueno. We understand what he's all about right now, and it's time to move on. It's time to move on and stop sitting there and following what the West says simply when they just project what Putin wants or what's really going on. This has nothing to do with imperialism. This has everything to do with nuclear weapons and a proxy on your border controlled by Western interest. That's what this is.
Absolutely, fam.
Dr. Dragon left another super rate contribution, said, Pasta, you are so beautiful and so smart. You are loved. Thank you, Dr. Dragon. You're amazing. You made our day today, especially mine. Fam, last section. You ready?
Yeah.
Not going to be a long one because who knows what's going to happen. The truckers' convoy is growing in size. What's next? They've been circling the Beltway in D.C. They went into D.C., greater D.C. I've been keeping up with what Ruth from the Justice Gazette has been following. She's been on the ground over there. She sent an email to me the other day. She's saying that this is people who are apolitical. There are some Trumpers. There are some conservatives. There are some Democrats, whatnot. But these are people mainly who just want to see the mandates end. A lot of the mandates have been ending, suspended, fam. Not even ended, suspended. And the national emergency is still on. They wanted the national emergency to be ended too as well. So let's just start off as well as just showing a little video of the trucker convoy, because it's really not being covered. It has really gained in size, and it's quite fascinating to see what's going on. Go ahead, Oz.
They want you locked in your home without God and alone. Don't want you looking up Dr. Sebi and Robert Malone. The truth blocked on your phone. They call the shots from their throne. These politicians and these doctors, they are not in control. Jimmy, uncover the face that the Lord created so it can be seen. Tired of the fake trending all over the place. We just want to be free. There's no fear with faith, he's praising us till we're hiding underneath all the passive threats and trauma that came from this tyranny. We won't bow down to the golden cow and do as it pleases. We don't care what they say, it's God over.
Fam, we won't bow down to the golden cow. We won't do it. So you don't see that in the mainstream media right now. They're not really talking about this convoy. Nope. And yeah, I mean, they want the national emergency to end and to end all mandates. Anything to say before we roll into this? Because I'm going to blitzkrieg through this pretty quickly.
Well, it's crazy because we wouldn't ever know that it's getting bigger, because the only time the mainstream media talks about it is when they're going to talk about how they're Nazis and all this stuff, while simultaneously continuing to back and feature the Azov battalion perspective. I just can't get over that. I can't get over that fact that these people were vilified to the point of getting their assets frozen. And I just saw what Viva Fry posted, that they're trying to evict the coffee shop people, the coffee shop owners that, broke that power and gave and let them in. And it's really shitty that these people are going through this. And at the same time, you have Canada's Trudeau saying that they're gonna push sanctions on Russia, that they're ready to do whatever is necessary to go after Putin. It's really crazy, because they're supporting neo-Nazis while saying that these people are some sort of fascists and virtue signaling with all the words. And yeah.
Well, this is a kind of crazy situation because a lot of the mandates are ending, and a lot of people are like, what do the truckers want? Now, they wanted the national emergency to end because the national emergency gives the executive branch, it gives Biden a lot of power to do what he wants to do as far as stopping things, halting things, making production for certain types of materials or whatever the case may be. It just gives you a lot of powers, emergency powers. Now, here's something to focus on too as well. The other day, and this is like 5-6 days ago, the Senate votes to end the COVID-19 emergency declaration. Biden threatens to veto. And to the actual paragraph, and this is from, I believe it was from, was this Reuters, I believe? It was Political. A bill by Senate Republicans to terminate the national emergency declaration for the COVID-19 pandemic passed 48-47 Thursday on a party line vote. While the legislation still has a slim chance of passing the Democratic-controlled House, and President Joe Biden has already threatened to veto the bill, the vote is yet another rebuke of the administration's pandemic policies at a time it is seeking billions from Congress to keep them going for several more months. Republicans brought the bill to the floor using a technical process under the National Emergencies Act, which allows for simple majority floor vote if the committee of jurisdiction fails to take up the bill within 2 weeks. Given several absences of the Democratic side of the aisle, with some members out sick with COVID and other mourning the death of a relative, the measure was able to pass by one particular vote, fam. Now, I want to say something here, but a lot of people don't realize is that there are two emergencies. There's a national emergency, which is a yearly emergency, has to be renewed by the White House, and it gives you extra powers. And there's the public health emergency. The public health emergency actually comes from HHS. It has one bureaucrat who can make that decision. That's Xavier Barrera, who comes from California, one of Fam's favorite politician, whatnot. And that is renewed every 90 days. Now, the difference is that is where the money is controlled. That determines where the money goes. The public health emergency by Xavier Barrera, which is just a bureaucrat, will determine where the money goes, who gets to spend it, how it gets there, and who gets emergency use authorizations. That's where what's controlled. The national health emergency, which is kind of funny, the truckers, they want to end this national health emergency, fam. But do you know, out there, ladies and gentlemen, me and fam have talked about this. We've said this before. There's like 30 national emergencies still current to this day. The biggest sin and why everybody, and I mean everybody, needs to be removed from Congress, every single one of them, is because that every 6 months during a national emergency, which is 1 year, so they should be meeting twice a year, a joint session by Congress is required by law to sit down and meet and have a session so they can inform the public about what's going on. Fam, they haven't done this once with COVID. They haven't done this with all the other 30 national emergencies going on. So it's kind of crazy, at least when the truckers are saying we want to end the national emergency, because all of a sudden, all the mandates have been suspended. And believe you me, after election season, they'll bring them right back here. They have them in their toolkit to bring them back at any time. And Biden extended the emergency, regardless of the fact that all these mandates are ending. You know what I'm saying? We still have a ton of emergencies, national emergencies in the queue that are current to this day. Most of them are foreign policy. We're going to show you them, but it makes no sense, fam, because even if they end this national emergency, we have all these other national emergencies going, and including the public health emergency, which will determine how these leeches get paid.
Wow.
Yeah. Let's take a look really quick at Mr. Levy's footage of his convoy. He sings that song, "We Will Not Comply." This is kind of crazy. Here's a drone footage. Once again, you're not going to see this on the mainstream media.
We will not comply with the institutions, sick illusion. No, it won't be televised. Welcome to the revolution.
Yeah. It's not working. No big deal. But you can see how big this is, Sam. And that's. But fam, you can see the size of this sucker. It's growing bigger and bigger. It's in DC now. It's circling the Beltway. So it's very interesting. I mean, it does kind of it shows the power that when we assemble together, what we can do, whatnot. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of people are confused because the mandates are ended. And like I said, truckers demand that the president end the national emergency, but we currently have almost 30 current national emergencies renewed and active right now, fam. I want to show you, ladies and gentlemen, some of these emergencies right here. Let's go ahead and put some of these up. Let's go one by one, starting with slide 62. We have a national emergency that's been going on since Carter was in order, and this is the blocking Iranian government property. So they have that going, and it was renewed every single year. The White House renews it and keeps it going. Then we go to Clinton in 1994. The proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, still going on. Arms, sanctions still going, prohibiting transactions with terrorists who threaten to disrupt the Middle East peace process, which means we can sanction anybody at any time in that area that we don't like. Then we have, this is still from Clinton in 1995, the prohibiting of certain transactions with respect to the development of Iranian petroleum resources. We still have sanctions booking as assets and prohibiting transactions from significant narcotics traffickers. We have maritime, still from Clinton going on, declaration of national emergency of emergency authority relating to the regulation and of the anchorage and movement of vessels. In other words, we can go out there and say this ship can sail, that ship can't sail. We can stop actually moving of goods and services of people we don't like. Blocking Sudanese government property and prohibiting transactions with Sudan. How is that still current to this day? That's 1997. It is still current. Slide number 63. Now we go to Mr. Bush over here, blocking property of persons who threaten international stabilization efforts in the Western Balkans. Once again, more Russian shit. So you can see this stuff has been going on for a long time. And there's one right after the other, after Bush, 2003, 2001. All these have been extended all the way. If you look at the one right over there, March 6, 2003, blocking property of persons, undermining democratic process of institutions in Zimbabwe. Still going on to this day. To this day, we still got it going on. Protecting the development fund for Iraq and certain other property in which Iraq has interest, so we can still block Iraq property and trading and whatnot. Blocking property of certain people export certain goods to Syria. That was in 2004. So if you think that Syrian war was just happening now, no, it's been in the queue for a long time. Let's go to slide 64. We got Bush national emergency, Bush national emergency, Bush national emergency. You can see the four of them. North Korea, Lebanon. We're still Republic of Congo, still there. Now we go to 2010 with Obama, blocking party of certain persons contributing to the conflict in Somalia. So we have all these national emergencies. Libya, Yemen, stability in 2012. So don't tell me Obama was a peace president. Slide number 65. And these are all still active. They have to be renewed. How come they haven't sat down? Here's 2014, right? The top of 65. Blocking property of certain persons contributing to the situation in Ukraine, fam. Hello, Obama, 2014, Ukraine. Okay, then we have April 3rd, South Sudan. Okay, here we are, Central Africa. We've declared war. How about this, Obama? When he says Obama, he's a socialist, really? This one is in 2015, blocking property and suspending entry of certain persons contributing to the situation in Venezuela, fam. Okay, so you go down, you got Trump. Here goes Trump now, 2017, human rights and abuse and corruption was the first one. Events and interference in United States elections, blocking property of certain persons contributing to the situation in Nicaragua. Slide 66. That we have another one over there. I want to go down to 2020. Okay, Donald Trump declaring the national emergency concerning the novel coronavirus disease. This is Donald Trump's national emergency that he declared. And I know a lot of people will say, well, he would have ended it by now, fam. It was still his. He started it. 24. The next slide, number 67. And you can see these are all current national emergencies. The president's executive order on Hong Kong normalization, right? Then you have addressing the threat from security investments, the finance communist Chinese military complex. So you got one after the other. You got Burma. And then you have Biden coming in now. You got the Russian Federation. You have imposing sanctions on certain powers with respect to the humanitarian and human rights crisis in Ethiopia. Biden declaring war in Ethiopia pretty much. And then you have one for a global drug trade and protecting certain parties and Afghanistan of the Afghanistan Bank for the benefit of the Afghanistan people. So pretty much they want to make sure that they strangle out the old Afghan government and make sure that people suffer with sanctions over there and die as well. The sanctions and the national emergency declared on Afghanistan by our United States government is going to kill more people than the actual bombs that were dropped over there, fam.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable, Pasta. I mean, we're still living with national emergencies from presidents that were alive when I was barely a child. Like, this is insane. Like, this is insane.
They're still going, and once again, every year they're renewed. They're supposed to have a joint session in Congress to talk about these things, fam, but we never get it. The public is never alerted. And the last one I have too is I want to remind everybody that, again, the night number 68, the U.S. extends the public health emergency due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And this is from the California Medical Association. Fam, it's one bureaucrat, Xavier Barrera, who gets to make this decision. He's like the czar, the god of the public emergency. Congress can't stop him. He can just do it. He can just declare it out of his own reasons. And this determines where all that money, all those taxpayer dollars, where it goes, where it flows. This one bureaucrat gets to decide that. And that's what's going to happen with this executive order right now when it comes to the cryptocurrencies. They're going to have one bureaucrat that cannot be stopped doing what he wants to do. This right here is fascism. This right here is authoritarianism. They're actually using these national emergencies and these executive orders to bypass everything our government is supposed to be about for and by the people, with representatives from certain districts around the world making those decisions on behalf of the people. It's not happening, fam. Our system is broke beyond repair.
Fam. I hope all of you realize like how bad things are and how bad they're going to get. But the reason we're bringing you this information is because you don't see the mainstream media putting out the information that Pasta just put out. I mean, it's crazy. Nobody's talking about these things. So, fams, that's it for today's show. You got any Super Rays fans you want to read?
All the Super Rays are there. Dr. Dragon did the last one, dropped the last one. Thank you so much. Let me check right now. Oh, no, we got it, Dr. Dragon.
I think so. Yeah, I think that's it.
We don't have any trolls today, fam. Zero
it's
thumbs
okay.
down.
Don't feed the trolls. Thank you guys so much for watching and tuning in on this long live stream. We love you guys.
Yep.
We'll see you
guys.
next time.
Thank you so much. Make sure you get in there. Make sure you show some love. Sign up on our Rockfin. We got some awesome videos out there too as well. For Pasta Jardula,
Fiorella,
Oz on those ones and twos. Don't forget about the great panel on Friday, by the way. I have to stop. We got to talk about this. Fam is going to be moderating a fire panel. Soraya Foss, who ran for president as a libertarian candidate. Rachel Blevins, who just lost her job with RT America because of the fascist government here. And Cynthia McKinney are all going to sit down and they're going to talk about everything with this Ukraine-Russia crisis. Don't miss it this Friday, 4 p.m. Pacific. It is going to be lit, fam. Join us then.
Lit, fam. All right.
Bye, guys.
Combo out.